That's an awfully hot coffee pot. Should I drop it on Donald Trump? Probably not, but that's all I got till I come up with a solid... Got a plan and now I got a hatchet like a damn Apache with a tomahawk. I'ma walk inside a mosque on Ramadan and say a prayer that every time talks. But we better give Obama props, cause what we got in office now's a kamikaze that'll probably cause a nuclear holocaust. And while the drama pops and he waits for shit to quiet down, he'll just gas his plane up and fly around till the bombing stops. Intensity's heightened, tensions are rising. Trump, when it comes to giving a shit, you're stingy as I am. Except when it comes to having the balls to go against me, you hide them. Cause you don't got the nuts like an empty asylum. Racism's the only thing he's fantastic for. Cause that's how he gets his rocks off and he's orange. Yeah, sick tan. That's why he wants us to disband, cause he cannot withstand the fact we're not afraid of Trump. Walking on eggshells, I came to stomp. That's why he keeps screaming, drain the swamp, cause he's in quicksand. It's like we take a step forwards, then backwards. But this is his form of distraction. Plus he gets an enormous reaction when he attacks the NFL, so we focus on that instead of talking Puerto Rico with gun reform for Nevada. All these horrible tragedies, and he's bored and would rather cause a Twitter storm at the Packers. Then says he wants to lower our taxes. Then who's gonna pay for his extravagant trips back and forth with his fam to his golf resorts and his mansions? Same shit that he tormented Hillary for and he slandered, then does it more. From his endorsement of banning support for the Klansmen, tiki torches in hand for the soldier that's blacking, comes home from Iraq and is still told to go back to Africa, fork and a dagger in this racist 94-year-old grandpa who keeps ignoring our past historical deplorable factors. Now if you're a black athlete, you're a spoiled little brat for trying to use your platform and your stature to try to give those a voice who don't have one. He says you're spitting in the face of vets who fought for us, you bastards. Unless you're a POW who's tortured and battered, cause to him you're zeros cause he don't like his war heroes captured. That's not disrespecting the military. This is for Colin. Ball up a fist. And keep that shit balled like Donald the bitch. He's gonna get rid of all immigrants. He's gonna build that thing up taller than this. Well, if he does build it, I hope it's rock solid with bricks. Cause like him in politics, I'm using all of his tricks. Cause I'm throwing that piece of shit against the wall till it sticks. And any fan of mine who's a supporter of his, I'm drawing in the sand a line. You're either for or against. And if you can't decide who you like more and you're split on who you should stand beside, I'll do it for you with this. The rest of America, stand up. We love our military, and we love our country, but we hate Trump!
And that's my, hey Matt, good to see you again. You gun-toting, Trump-loving son of a gun, you.
Anyways.
Did you see that prior?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was boring then and boring now.
Okay.
That was the first time I ever watched it.
Okay, cool. So it was topical for someone, wasn't it, Maddie? Well, no, it's interesting.
Did you do your opening line?
Jake Podcast, jakepodcast.com, The Bachelor Pad Radio, YouTube, Podbean.
There you guys.
That's it. Yeah, so I woke up to that today. So, obviously, one thing we try and do if there's anything topical in the news or, stuff going on, we obviously like to give our take on it. See, I listen to TMZ. I listen to a few other things, whatever stuff I could catch in between my hectic morning. But kind of interesting. Didn't see that coming.
Right. Either did I, for sure, on that one.
Yeah, kind of random. But yeah, I've been explaining to Matt for a while, right? Matt is pro-gun, pro-gun, teeters on conservatism, to a point, maybe a little bit, with the overall economics and bring jobs back to America and whatever. But yet when we talk about stuff, with the NFL and with all these other things, I play devil's advocate because I really don't care about anything, right? I come to work, I try and make some money, I go home, play with my dogs,
Right.
try and text via, Aaliyah on my phone to see what chick is doing something and, I just got out of the bathtub. Sorry, fellas, I got to go. That's really all I care about. But I do like to play devil's advocate. And just from an intellectual standpoint, I like to see if people see both sides of the argument. Right. Sometimes Matt doesn't see
all the time.
the argument 100%, and then it's my job to just bust his balls in between and whatever.
Right.
So
That's
I
fun.
would say I'm, pro Second Amendment, but I'm definitely believe that, people in the world are, fucking up the world. You know what I mean? So I think, I'm definitely kind of an environmentalist, but at the same time, I definitely believe in the Bill of Rights and, all of the things that we've had forever, so.
yeah, no, I completely agree. One thing when anyone argues about some of these facts, you go back to the facts, right? The Constitution. You look at the amendments, you look at the Bill of Rights, you go through. That is, the same people that will argue some of those points, they'll then take them way off the cuff. And I'm like, no, you can't have it that way.
Right.
You've got this one line item that you're concerning yourself with, but this is what the letter of the law. Well, that was hundreds of years ago. It doesn't matter today. And I was like, okay, but this mattered then and matters today. But this, just because it didn't matter, it mattered then, but now we need, to change for whatever their personal ideological thought process is.
It's the same thing with the First Amendment. I think all these people, whether other people think they're disrespecting the military or not, like that's their choice to stand or kneel or express their freedom of speech however they want.
Right. And that's the crazy part. However you want. Not if it offends you or you don't want to see it or don't use it in this platform. Obviously, and you give everyone your full name.
John Lee Chalbeck.
Okay. John's a professional fighter, right? You fought amateur, yes. You're professional fighter now.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, when, boxing in gyms, it's interesting. Sports is a great leveling field because it doesn't matter if you're white, black, green, alien. If you fight, you fight. If you play football, you play football. Doesn't matter who your teammate is. And it's weird because, I grew up poor. I grew up in, like when I lived in Dallas, I grew up in an all black and Hispanic neighborhood. The only redheaded white kid, whatever, right? Even though it's not all that red anymore, it used to be fire engine red.
That's interesting. I lived in Dallas 3rd and 4th grade.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Whereabouts in?
It was like a Richardson area.
Okay, yeah, right off
So,
75
I
and
was like
635.
I was like the only white kid in school too, so I got beat up all the time.
Yeah, no, it's a great training ground for learning how to you work on your defense and throw a punch.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Garland.
Garland, yep, I know Garland. It was by Plano.
Yep,
kinda, right?
Garland. Generally, when you lump the cities in, Garland, Plano, Richardson, right? Because you kind of go Garland, Plano, Richardson as you go up north, up 75.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, interesting, and yeah, it's kind of a it's kind of a trip when you grow up in areas like that. You're when you've got a good friend of yours, or like for me in middle school. Cool. I had my buddy Chris Gonzalez, Hispanic guy. I had Dinky and Travis, 2 black guys. We go out, we get pulled over in a car, they get pulled out, they get read the riot act and whatever. I get the why are you with him? Right? Just because they're black or just because they're Hispanic in that area. Not to say that all profiling or racial profiling is wrong, but you can't deny the fact that it happens more often than not.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely happening.
you know. And when you're boxing,
it has been.
It always has been. It's just with social media and everything, everything's being brought to light.
Yeah, everything's
Yeah.
more exaggerated now because it's right in front of your face. Every time you look at your
Right.
phone, you're looking at the same thing.
Yeah, and it's hard to look at something in black and white, whether it be police brutality. I've got friends that are police officers. I support, obviously they do a great job, but you can't look at some of these things and go, wow, or look at the contrast of the UK. And, when you start looking at, the amount of gun violence and the amount of violence and everything that they do and the way that they handle, the same situation. Like how many times Jim Jeffries, I don't know if you've ever paid attention to Jim Jeffries, comedian.
Yeah.
He on his show, he did a thing where he did a ride along with the worst city, in the UK, right? With, I think they had 36, murders like last year total, right? Like we have that.
And that's the worst city.
That's the worst city. And he talked to the cops, and then he watched the way they showed them some footage of, well, why didn't they do this, or why did they approach the situation like that? And so he's like, so do you go out and just, are you ready to, discharge your weapon? I've never discharged my weapon. Oh, well, we use tasers, or we use, billy clubs or whatever, or we talk ourselves through the situation, and
Right.
just interesting. But when you look at some of that stuff, even if you're a gun supporter or you're pro police, that's where you really get into somebody's, you dig into their mind a little bit, because, wow, you're watching the same thing I'm watching, but you're like, wow, he shouldn't have been out past 12. I mean, what was he doing at 12?
Right.
He was going to get a Snickers and a, and a Mountain Dew. Like, that's not cool to do.
Right. When did adults have a curfew,
Exactly. And not to say that, yes, the dude also may have been a low budget drug dealer and whatever, but he happened to be, you didn't know anything about him. He happened to be just some dude walking to the store to grab whatever and got stopped and harassed and ended up getting shot. So part of the thing with the Eminem, and all this kind of rolls back into the Eminem and the social injustice, I think people are going to keep popping up until there's, and I think there's a void in our government right now to where there's no calming overall effect, where somebody's going to come out and go, look, us as a government, even if they're not going to do anything, at least say that they're going to do something, or that we see it and we identify it, and we need to be better. We all need to come together, right? Like you look at it with, every other president, when you get into these things, you get a pretty prolific speech. At least it gives people hope. Now, I don't hope nor believe, right? I try and deal in fact and science. It's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
So I don't need the hope and the whatever, right? I can look around this world and see what's going on, and it's crazy. But I thought it topical, so it got me. That's about the only thing I did, is I got up and had my morning coffee. I saw this, and I watched every media outlet dealing with it one way or another. So
Right.
how did that make you feel, Matt?
That's fine.
You all right?
Good job.
Okay.
Do the police in England and Great Britain even carry guns?
Um,
I think a lot of them don't.
No, most of them don't. Most of them don't. Some of them have tasers, but not all. And then some of them are, basically unarmed. They have either like a pepper spray,
Right.
a pepper spray and
a slingshot.
and a wet willy machine or whatever. It's just
A rape whistle.
Yeah.
That's right. They do carry the whistles. They're big on that. But I think they have police just like hiding, like just like leaning up against buildings, because when they do get into a situation and they blow the equivalent of a rape whistle, dude, cops come from everywhere. Like they still have constables on patrol, which were cops on foot, which is where the cop came from, constable on patrol. Did you know that, man?
Nope.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you.
it's neat. I like acronyms and stuff. So
I like learning new things. So
Oh,
that's
Yeah.
Sure.
interesting.
So kind of neat. And some of the areas where I worked in Detroit, we still had cops on foot, like the first and second
Greektown still-
precinct.
You know what? Have you gone through Greektown at all lately?
Kind of, sort of, a couple times.
Did you notice every cop on every corner? Not just like one cop per intersection. One or two cops on each corner of each intersection, which is great. In each, good just to have a police presence.
No,
that's all.
it should. I think, I came up with a weird, I'm an idea guy. I'm horrible at follow through, but I think of cool stuff sometimes. And then I think of it and I tell my friends and they go, you're an idiot, right? You're stupid. And then it comes to fruition like a couple years later and I'm like,
See?
what? I need to have better friends. You need to go, okay, and you need to be smart enough to make sure this happens. And we split the money. I come up with the idea. You figure out how to get it done and whatever. Oh, my God. You'll like this, right? I like the way my brain works. Well, the first idea was, community policing, right? You've got everybody, like everyone's got that weird, creepy neighbor in your neighborhood who's always looking out the window. Sometimes it's an old dude, a retired guy, just Mr. Nosy Peabody down the street. In every neighborhood like that, if the city or the community, they're not doing anything anyways, and you put a small wage associated with it for them not to, go out and thwart crime, like, whatever that movie was, the Watchmen or whatever, where Ben Stiller and everybody like thought
Fighting
they were
the aliens
yeah,
or
that's
whatever.
right, where they had that community policing thing.
That was a bomb.
Yes. But if you watch some of that, like there are people chilling, right? And I pay attention. I'm sitting having my coffee and I look at the cars, that swing by. If I see a car come through my neighborhood a couple times, I'm not opposed to, cool, I'll take my dog, like I'm walking my dog in the front yard and, yo, what you doing? You lost? Can I help you find something? Because at least I'll get a look at the license plate. If I saw this car driving around at night, now it's driving around in the middle of the afternoon. But like on the east side of Detroit and other places like that, how with the amount of trauma and stuff that's going on, do you not have somebody at least armed with, Great Britain's best with, pepper spray and a stick, and a rape whistle?
Back in the day when we were growing up, my dad was the head of the RCA. Is that what it's called? RCA, Castle Rouge Citizens Patrol.
Watch out.
And so what they would do, so Castle Rouge was from Telegraph to Outer Drive to the tracks to 96. That was Castle Rouge, and that was area was okay. Just north of the freeways was Brightmoor. So where the area is. So we grew up in Brightmoor, but yet we all those Castle Rouge, that's where like all your firemen, all your Detroit cops lived and stuff, but also they had a Castle Rouge patrol. Anyways, like 4 or 5 cars, it'd be two, neighborhood people get in the car. They actually mileage. They paid the police paid for mileage. I think a certain amount of cents. But they would go around and they would patrol from 9 at night to 2, 3 in the morning, and they would just patrol. And then there would be a home base, and it would alternate each week. A CB, station in the home. So they would see something, they would radio the CB to the dispatch, and then they would call the police, and then that's what. So, but they had little magnets and said RCA Citizens Patrol, and they would just drive up and down the streets, just alternate and be spaced out.
Yeah. So Mayor Duggan, if you're listening to this, how about we bring back that type of patrol?
It was actually pretty cool. My dad got him. He busted somebody breaking in the garage and got a whole award for it and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, and you think how many returning service members, right? We talk about all of this. What kind of concerns me is our returning, our active service members cannot shoot without order and cannot do all this. And they're held to a certain code of conduct, even in war, right? Even out on patrol and anything that's going on. But yet our localized police, like, oh, he was in fear of his life. You moved towards him and he shot you, right?
Absolutely.
So why wouldn't we, in some of these, severely, and I think versus a regular cop or a returning service member, you're going to get a certain amount of respect. I don't care if it's the hood. I don't care if it's the east side of Detroit. I don't care if it's, bad parts of the west side. I think even, folks in the inner city or whatever will still, there would be versus a cop, right? Hey, dude, you're fighting for our country. You did whatever. There would be a certain level of respect, but at least they know when to engage or when not to engage.
Right.
Now you could have somebody with post-traumatic stress syndrome or whatever. So it's a slippery slope, but them coming back should be, with the amount of crime and the amount of, stuff we have going on in some of our inner cities, why not put somebody who is a combat veteran in these combat situations with a certain regard that do not shoot to kill, do not do harm, because it seems like some of the, the police force, you've got people out there that are just, whoa.
They're way too trigger happy, and they're shaking. They pull out their gun and they're blowing someone away. But yeah, like you said, the other side is, it would depend on the individual. Are they eager to get back out there doing something like that, or do they just want to, find something more peaceful?
Yeah.
You'll have your guys that are really experienced, that live that type of life and want it, and they may be really great cops. and then you might have some guys that just aren't interested because they want to be done
Done with it completely.
killing people.
Well, it'd be like the Zohan, right, where he was like, "No, I want to cut and style hair." You seem like a movie guy because you picked up a couple references, so I figured I
That's
could
the
go.
Adam Sandler one, right?
That's right. Yeah, nobody gets hurt. It's hair. It's peaceful. So,
Exactly. that
So
was-
yeah, you could have. You don't want to force anybody into it, but I think there's some things thinking outside the box that can be done. So we talked about you obviously being you were an amateur fighter, you're a pro fighter,
Yep.
and from what I overheard in the the pre-talk of the show that you cross over and do a little bit of MMA stuff also.
Yeah, so in my boxing career, I was 21-3 as an amateur. I did the Golden Gloves. I got the runner-up twice, but I never won. And so I was 21-3 in boxing, and then before I turned pro, I made the switch to MMA. So I did 4 amateur MMA fights, and I was 3-1. I lost 1 decision, which I thought I won, but the guy was on my back a lot the second round, and then it was stand-up, kind of a stand-up war the first and third round. So I ended up finishing my amateur career 3-1, turned pro. So now I'm 7-0 as a pro in boxing and 1-0 as a pro in MMA.
Nice.
So are you gonna continue to do crossover stuff, or are you gonna?
Yep, absolutely. My next fight's November 3rd at the Motor City Casino, which is boxing, and then January 5th at the Motor City Casino, which is MMA, and
Nice.
then April 13th at the Motor City Casino. So I have my next 3 fight dates already scheduled.
Nice. Okay, and we're gonna try and
we'll
shoot
get down
down
there.
because the dude who's doing the majority of the ring announcing, his name's Pete. It's Pete Trevejo or something or something.
Trevino.
Yeah, he's.
Trevino.
I know him. He's a local DJ and does some other stuff. But yeah, he and I are very good friends. Every time there's a fight on, I go and we have pre-fight talk.
Right.
Like
He works the WXC, and then he works the Salida shows. So that's where I've seen him. He's never worked any of the shows at Motor City. Kara Rowe, who is a former professional boxer from Canada, she does the announcing at the Motor City.
Okay. Okay.
She's also a coach for my opponent. She's his boxing coach. So I think.
Yeah.
So last fight, I was kind of pissed at Carlos. I was like, look, he's got a corner over there in the corner, and then she's sitting behind my corner yelling stuff to Rick. I mean, it didn't matter. I mean, I beat his ass. But
still, yeah, no, it's
but it's like I was like, I mean, you should nip that in the butt, Carlos, because that's kind of unprofessional. She needs to be neutral, just like the timekeeper, just like the judges,
Everybody else,
just
correct.
like everyone
sure.
else.
For sure.
So I thought that was pretty unprofessional, but it must be hard to see your student getting beat up.
Is there a lot of behind the scenes who and
Oh yeah,
neutral,
I
non-neutral?
Pretty much know everybody. Everyone knows me in the state. You know what I mean?
But is there a lot of that going behind the scenes of like weighing one side decision, like someone that's supposed to be neutral versus, or is
I
it
don't
pretty
thi-
much fair or even?
It depends on the individual. Obviously, some judges will lean towards fighters. I
Really,
think,
no bias, just straight.
I obviously I think the whole system is set up for corruption. Because if you think about it, even in Las Vegas, the promoter is the one who hires the judge. It's not the state. The state doesn't appoint it anymore.
Oh no, it's not a
especially
state
in-
appointed.
It used to be.
Right.
Now in Michigan, and I know that it's like this pretty much everywhere else now. It's who's ever the promoter can choose his judges, and then if the promoter has fighters on his side, obviously the judge wants to keep working. You know what I mean? They want to get paid every time. They want to get called for every show. So, the system's set up for corruption for them to lean towards the promoter's fighters, who would be on the A side, So,
Okay.
So that's just pretty much the problem with it until the state, or whatever national sanctioning body, like, the NFL, or something like that can come together and say, hey, we're putting these judges here, but there's so many smaller shows going on all the time that, it might be kind of hard for such a venture, it may be. That's why they made it so that the promoter can pick the person. I was at this fight actually.
I heard of the Shields. She's out of Flint. Is it the girl that out of Flint?
Yeah, that's the girl. Clarissa Shields won 2 gold medals.
Yeah, she's badass.
Yeah, and she is definitely a badass.
Yeah, she's she's with Mayweather somehow. How is she connected to Mayweather? She's connected somehow to him. Meaning maybe he found her or something like
I
that.
mean, everyone knew her after the first Olympics, you know, and then she said she wasn't going to turn pro. She was going to wait and try to get another gold, which she did, and then turn pro right away, and has fought. And now she's a world champion with only like 6 fights.
Wow.
You know, so she kind of followed the Vasily Lomachenko equation where, you know, he was 398-1
Wow.
as an amateur, and then he turned pro, but instead of fighting someone 0-0 or building himself up, he fought a guy who was 25-3, knocked him out, then fought for the world championship in his very next fight, which is unheard of. He ended up losing a decision to Salido, and then he's had like 7 in a row. He's fought Gary Russell, who was an Olympian, and he beat him for his belt. And so now he's like 9-1 as a champion, and that's like unheard of.
Yeah.
Usually they're 20-0.
It takes a
21-0.
minute to get there.
It takes a minute. There's a building process, but he's one of the pound for pound best, and he has like 10
Is he
fights.
because he's good? He's pure talent, or
Pure
because of his
talent
amateur record got him boosted?
Obviously 2 gold medals helped him.
Okay.
Whenever you win a gold medal or any kind of medal in the Olympics, your debut money is going to be way more. Like De La Hoya, you know, is a $50,000 debut. You know, I got $500. Most people would get
Right.
like 500. Mayweather won a bronze medal. He got like a $20,000 debut. You know.
Yeah, you got a calling card, you know.
Right. You know, so that's why this guy is really good too. Ardreal Holmes. He's from Flint. He actually.
Yeah, that's my buddy Pete announcing right there.
I think he was dating. Yeah, I know him well.
Yeah, that's random.
He always tries to get me to come up into the ring and stuff, but it's just I don't think some of the promoters, you know, don't like how I stick with one promoter. You know what I mean? Because he really scratches my back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I always got the casino, you know, and you know, so it's like you know, some.
Where's this fight at?
This looks like it's in.
It's in Detroit somewhere.
It's the MGM.
Is it MGM?
I think it is.
It would be
Masonic
Masonic.
Temple.
Masonic,
I was gonna
yeah,
say
that's
Masonic, right? It looks like I just seen the arches. I'm like, that's got to be.
I
Masonic.
know the Clarissa Shields one was at MGM. I thought this was the same card, but this guy's good. He ended up almost making it to the Olympics, but he lost. I think, and he ended up becoming an alternate and didn't get to go to the Olympics. But yeah, he's a savage.
Yeah.
Ardreal Holmes. Yeah, I think he's 6-0 now. Fights at 154. Really tall and lanky.
You say he's tall.
A lot of power for a tall guy. You see him, that straight left, you know, that he has is really nasty. This guy's already complaining about punches to the back of the head. That's pretty much a sign that he doesn't like where he's at automatically.
Yeah, yeah.
There's one thing I could tell you, that no matter how much you put your hand on the back of your head, the ref doesn't care what you say. He's going to decide when the punch was at the back of the head. You'll never convince him. So when guys start doing that, there is something inside of them. Like, see, he just went down, so he wasn't far.
He's like,
down.
I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm donezo.
He wasn't far. And this guy's not even on Ardreal's level, and this is how pro boxing works. You know, you've got guys that aren't in the beginning. You've got guys that are not on your level. If you're in good with a promoter or someone sees that you have skill, they're going to want to build you.
So this is just a stat. This is just a resume
This is pretty
builder.
much a guaranteed win. This guy that he's fighting is horrible.
Nice.
Like look how he throws punches. Yeah, see, he's way out of his league. Now he's holding on. Even when he holds, you can tell he's desperate. He's not even holding smart. He's hugging him. He should be like grabbing one arm, hitting with the other, you know, being slick.
Yeah, and his defense, I mean, yeah.
It's horrible. Yeah, he's like, see, he's swinging from his hip, you know what I mean? This is a guy that, you know, probably didn't have many amateur fights, if any, and the promoter was like, hey, yeah, you know, we got a guy for you.
Yeah.
And Ardreal doesn't care who he goes up against. Like, he'll fight a good guy and beat him, but why, when it could be so easy, you know, and you're building yourself up, and every time you win, you get a bigger offer. Like, my biggest offer has been $15,000, which has been way more than any of these MMA guys in this area or any of the boxers, because I'm 7-0. But it was a horrible offer. It was a 2-day notice. I usually fight at 154. They want me to drive to Vegas, eat Twinkies the whole way there, and weigh 175 to fight a 6-0. And that guy's probably cutting from 190.
Right.
So it'd be like, it's the worst offer ever. But every single win I keep getting, the offers are getting bigger.
Getting
so I
better
know I'm
and-
doing it right, no matter what the fucking haters are saying. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's gonna hate. Look at Golovkin and Triple G. I thought Triple G won that fight hands down. He was stalking him. He hurt him with punches, and then afterwards, just because he doesn't knock out Canelo, it's like, oh, he's old, he's slow. You can do everything right, and you're still gonna have haters.
Dude, that fight, like I did a pre-show fight on that, right? I've been watching, Alvarez since he was on a ton of the undercards for Mayweather and Pacquiao and everyone, right? And he's redheaded, whatever. And he kind of looks like me when I was younger. And I went, oh, look at him, it's a young me. And
It's crazy. He knows no English.
Yeah, zero.
He's never ever tried or anything like that, and he's so in the Americans, in there. You'd think he would try to adapt a little bit, like Triple G and some of the other guys that have really tried to fix their English, for the American fans,
zero F's given. He's like, nope, this is,
big drama show.
But it's funny, even as much as I liked him, right? And up until, see, I'm not one that if I'm a Mayweather fan and he's fighting somebody and I know he's going to get beat, or not know he's going to get beat, but he's way outmatched and whatever, I'm not going to sit and tout, dude, Mayweather, this, and this, Mayweather. If I'm looking at, even the Triple G, I couldn't come to, a true decision on. I'm like, look, I'm an Alvarez fan, always have been, right? The kid's good, everything about him is solid.
I love him. I like him too. I just like Triple G more. But when I was making my prediction, I actually bet on Canelo.
You would have had to, just from the competition he fought.
I was being more logical in the sense of it's De La Hoya's promotion. He's De La Hoya's fighter. De La Hoya picks the judges. You know what I mean? So it's already set up for corruption.
Guaranteed.
Know what I mean? That's what I mean.
And that's the business side of it.
Triple G pretty much had to. He won the fight, but they gave him a draw because that was the gift that they gave to Canelo, the draw. But Triple G did everything he had to do to win that fight. I mean, I think I had Triple G winning like 8 rounds to 4 or 7 rounds to 5.
Easily. I mean, he pressed the action. He stalked him. Now, here's the thing, right? 35 years old, right? Everyone will go, oh, he's 35. Alvarez is, is younger and this, and he's never had a stamina problem to this point.
No, never.
So it baffled me the way he came out and began to fight. He fought different. I don't know if they were taking a page out of Mayweather's, where they're just going to lay back and whatever, and hopefully the 35-year-old fighter.
Different?
Yeah, he fought totally different than I've ever seen him fight. He didn't fight pure Mexican style, right?
No.
He didn't go in and finesse anything, which I thought he could have, but he laid and he rope-a-doped a little bit. He allowed, Triple G to throw a lot more punches without countering, because normally you can almost see like he'll get a little bit angry. If he gets stung or if he gets into a point,
he shows it.
He'll fight back.
If he gets caught with something, he'll come back hard. That's what I like to call it tell. And one thing I try to do when I'm fighting is even if the person hits you, because when you're fighting, you're so in your own head, right? But really, the real perspective is your perspective. What you're seeing is reality. It's not my reality. My reality's skewed by punches and head trauma. You know what I mean? So I just have to keep my hands up and do it. You're doing your best. And you always feel the punch on your head more. This is what I try to tell the people I coach. You'll always feel the punch on your head more than the head on your fist. So I could be like, boom, 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 hit 7, be winning 7-1, but he hits me with that big one. I'm like, whoa, I'm getting my ass kicked right now. It's so easy to get into that, you know what I mean? And I think Triple G was, in that fight, Triple G got in Canelo's head after those first couple big punches that hit him in the dome. And he didn't fight. Yeah, I think he didn't really know how to fight him, just kind of fight him the best that he could.
And he kept coming like the Terminator, dude. Whatever his cardio program is, he needs to be the next Billy Banks, because that man kept going and kept punching and kept, and dude, you couldn't stop. He was like Rock'em Sock'em Robot. He just kept following him.
Triple G RoboCop, because he just does not stop. He just doesn't stop. And he wanted the big drama show. He tried to make it, but Canelo kept backing up. You know what I mean? And I'm the same way. I fight just like Triple G. I always feel like I have to be walking forward, get on the inside. I'm not much of a jabber, even though last fight I jabbed a lot and I won by a decision. That's not usually my style, And like Triple G, my last fight, I only threw like 4 body shots. If you look at body shots that Triple G through the last fight. He only threw 8 total, which is not even one body shot a round.
Right.
Which is not his usual. So he was a little off his game too. I think he had a lot of respect for Canelo.
And Canelo worked he worked the body.
Yeah, Canelo was definitely working the body better than Triple G.
Because those two combined have more body blow knockouts or knockdowns with body punches than any boxer not having all the stats in front of me.
Right,
but
a lot of the top-notch boxers
yeah,
that you see, those guys are known for dropping people to the body and head.
Oof.
They both got serious power. But did you see that one right hand that Canelo landed? It was the best. Probably might have been the best punch of the fight, but Triple G walked right through it like it was nothing. It snapped his head like this, and he was boom, boom, boom. That's a real chin right there.
Yeah,
nice.
I like to pride myself on my chin. I've never been knocked out, never been knocked down. You know what I mean? But I've had really hard shots hit me in the face, and I don't know. I
just eat them up.
Yeah, you just eat them. You just like Triple G, man. That's why I look up to him so much. And he's the same age as me. He did everything the right way in his country, and he, even though he's doing everything right, people still hate on him. So it doesn't matter what you do.
Well, I think it
Right.
I think it
Sure.
gained a lot of respect and a lot of a lot broader understanding, because obviously Americans pay a lot more attention, to Alvarez.
Right.
You see that what he did. I was sitting right there and I was like, hoo. I was like understanding the business side of boxing from everything that I've studied. You look at it and I went, same thing. Promoter, this, and I'm like, And both of them are coming in with belts, right? It's a unification fight. It's whatever. With neither one of them getting knocked down, even though he pressed the fight and did whatever. I was like, I will tell you, I shook my head and I looked. My buddy was like, "What do you think?" And I went, "Dude, I think Triple G won the fight." But in the same token, I have a sneaking suspicion that it'll be a draw, right? I was like, look, if there was one knockdown, that's kind of hard to fudge the numbers on that, right? You're
Right.
gonna a point's gonna be given in the opposite direction. But yeah, when it came down to it, it was not I had it basically a draw, only giving Alvarez the up because of the level of competition that he's fought, right? Because I sat here and watched every fight over the 2 days prior just to wrap my brain around it, and we did a pre-fight show, and I took a complete novice because regardless of my my predisposition to liking one or the other or style, so I took a guy who's never watched boxing at all. He's a young kid. And I was like, dude, boxing and this, and this. And I turned it over and we watched everything and we watched it. And it was weird to hear things from him because he's not a boxing guy or a fan or anything.
Right.
So
that would be really interesting, actually, to see the perspective of someone that really is not sure what they're watching. They know it's a fight. And this the MMA guys, they like to use this term, yeah, you got them hands. It's like I really hate this because really boxing starts with your footwork from the ground up. It's all about your footwork. The MMA guys' footwork are all messed up. You know what I mean? So it's not about my hands, guys. It's about the footwork. It's about
how you're
your
generating
base.
power
How you're
from your
generating
legs through your
power.
hips.
One thing MMA guys do is instead of feinting hard, like a hard feint, they do this like pawing with their, and it's a total waste of
energy and
time, and it does nothing. It's a waste, and you just leave yourself open. And
Yeah, are you trying to? It's like using filler words. Like we're not doing anything.
Yeah,
so
literally, it's. I don't
Right.
even know why they do it. They need to snap their jab, not paw with it. You know what I mean? So just like boxers do. You see the good boxers, like they snap their jab. Triple G. And when did we stop counting a jab as a punch all of a sudden? Because Mayweather got away with it for so many years. Now
Right.
Triple G out jabs someone, lands twice as many jabs, and they're like, "Oh, he's old."
yeah, it was a good fight. I enjoyed the fight. I enjoyed more of what Triple
I thought
G
it was
did.
An excellent fight. It
Yeah.
was awesome. And I thought Canelo fought his ass off. Like, honestly, there was a part of me that was thinking Canelo's going to get knocked out.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I kept thinking of if it goes to decision, he's going to win. Triple G has to get the knockout to win. And you saw Adelaide Bird's scorecard, 118-110, which is a travesty.
Yeah,
Right.
that's ridiculous.
I mean, that was horrible. I mean, that was completely. I mean, I'm glad she got suspended over that.
Dude, did you see the uproar? This is one thing I like about.
The Teddy Atlas thing.
Oh, dude. I love that when stuff happens now, And you can look at, social media as a thorn in our side and crap, all this stuff, and why am I? But now when things happen, we are so linked in. It's kind of like the Matrix or whatever with the thing plugged in.
Right.
We're so plugged into everything that when things happen now, like look at the dude from the Weinstein guy or whatever. Instant. He, a couple girls came out and went blah, blah, blah.
And it just snowballed. And
now, how many movies have we watched? Because it seems like you've watched as many movies as I have.
Yeah, I've seen tons of movies.
The Hollywood casting couch, like, oh, do you want this thing? And producers. And it's kind of been an acceptable norm throughout Hollywood that these young actresses, they call it the casting couch. And granted, in porn now, they're casting couch everything, which I watch quite a few of them. It's
same thing almost.
I like the buildup. But,
it's all about the storyline.
That's right. It's a little foreplay for my porn. But that is notoriously how Hollywood has been, portrayed. And it's didn't get that weird stereotype. Like, dude, you're a big exec. You want to be a Hollywood actress. You're coming from Iowa. You're cute and you can't really act all that great. I'm going to put you in some movies. Wonk, wonk, wonk. Right? So now everyone, he's been at it for a while. Like, he should have pumped the brakes a bit, Slick, right?
I know, right? A little greedy.
Yeah, and that's what you get for being too greedy.
Yeah.
So he does this, and then something comes out, and then all the dominoes fall. And he did this to me. And you're getting big name actresses saying, I didn't do this and that, but
I know and I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you really can't.
Social media just if you want some info, it gets out there quick, don't it?
And sponsors like the Cam Newton thing, right? When Cam Newton talked about whatever with that female reporter, and when he said whatever, Dan and Yogurt dropped him in a minute. So you're losing sponsorship and you're losing whatever, which this is why I kind of like this medium. Because whatever we say here, I'm kind of in the middle of the road. I'll point out things, but I'll also say I appreciate and, this. Or even if you take a really hard stand, it's cool. It's freely open. You may believe something. I believe something. Matt believes something completely different because he's Matt, right?
Right.
And regardless of what it is, nobody's dropping sponsorship and you're not getting, berated by millions of people.
Right.
You're just expressing, but being in that realm, that was kind of weird. Like, I just kind of went, oh, was anyone under the impression that directors and producers weren't banging actresses? Like, that's why that kind of comes with the job.
That was going on the whole time.
Oh, yeah. and hey, boxing's 100%, fair and honest at all times.
Yeah, and you were just talking about, I want to go back to it before I forget about it, the ref that was reffing that Ardrew Holmes fight, Frank Garza. So I was at a fight where James Ballard was fighting, a B-side guy from Holland, and James was 6-0, and this guy is like 2-3, and this guy was, he was getting in James's shit, dude. I was like, holy shit. He ends up dropping James in the fourth round or the fifth round of a 6-round fight, and he was wobbled and he was hurt, and somehow Garza, who was not the ref that fight, he was a judge. He scored it 10-10. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? And then I had to talk to two other boxing writers that were there, and I had to get to the bottom of it myself because I was like, that is shady as fuck.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
what
it be
they
a
say?
9-9? They're like, no, it's a 10 must. So since he got knocked down, Frank still thought Ballard won the round, even though he got knocked down. So that made it a 10-10 instead of a 10-9 or a 10-8.
Oh, it's generally a point shift, regardless. If you take a man off his feet,
that's a point.
Right, but if you win but apparently if they still think he won the round, then they're gonna make it a 10-10 round instead of a 9-9 round or a 9-8 round or whatever, because someone has to have 10 every time. So if you get the knockdown on the guy and you should get the extra point, they're just going to give you the round in the sense of a draw, which is complete bullshit because he earned that knockdown and that round should have been 10-8. Now, he still would have lost the fight. He still would have lost because I thought James did enough with his jab and the clean boxing to win rounds. But it was a good-ass fight. And the fact that James got dropped, that was huge for the other guy. And it made it fight of the night for sure, and everyone wanted to see a rematch. But that was bullshit what Garza did. That was shady because that round he was recovering a lot from that knockdown. And even though he did land punches, the other dude was walking him down, and he did enough to win that round with the knockdown 10-8. And I made a big shit about it. Like, I was like, so if he's ever my judge, he'll probably score against me bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and you
Be
almost
Adelaide bird.
you almost think like the corruption in boxing, with the scoring and the shenanigans, and we lived through the Don King years, right?
Yeah.
You've gone through that. That was, atrocious at best, right? You hear the horror stories, from fighters after they're done and, get really, really truthful about some of the things, right? And I'd almost like to see, like, with the technology we have now, like computer generated, like, take the humanity out of it. How many punches were thrown, landed, and whatever, and maybe like one oversight individual, just to take some of it out of there, because it is ridiculous when you even hear the announcers on Showtime or HBO and go, dude, I don't know who watched this like this. And you'll have people coming up ringside, for bigger fights. And they're just, dude, this was, that was grand larceny right there. Like, there's no way anyone could have watched this. And the fact that it still goes, on and there's so much money, wrapped around and involved in it is baffling. Because, granted, a viewpoint from the television and then, at ringside and whatever, I get that you can be off a little bit, but not a 118, 110.
Absolutely not.
It's just not.
One thing the Olympics did was make the round-by-round scoring, they pretty much officially announced it after every round. So you couldn't, like, hide a scorecard or change a scorecard.
Wait until it gets to the end.
As soon as the round was over, you had to post your score, and then everyone would see, oh, these judges had it. So as the fight's going on, you knew who's winning or losing in the Olympics.
Right.
And this was something I think that was new to this year, just like the no headgear rule.
Yeah. We had a little bit of a pre-talk. And it's good because, you're active in it. You are, crossing the lines, MMA and boxing. When we were talking about some of the, the concussions, the injuries, you mentioned, hey, man, boxing for this amount of years and, you might have an ailment here or there, as things go on, right? From, I was watching something with, God, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was adults that either fought or played football and whatever. And they said, would you let your kids, with all the stuff you're seeing, out, going on right now, would you put them in harm's way that, in that manner? And it was weird. It was kind of 50-50. Some people were like, no, I can't tell them what to do, but I'm going to advise not.
Right.
And no, if you're going to do this, my thought process has always been, if you play football and if you make it to that level, don't cry for me, Argentina, right? If I did exactly what I wanted to do, and I feel that there's a pussification of America going on top of all the other stuff, right? We're way too sensitive for everything,
They use that term millennials a lot, and I think that's kind of funny. But I'm like last year of the Generation X, 1982.
Yeah, for sure.
So. I definitely think it's like everything being at your fingertips.
A lot of
right
soft
away.
skin, you can't yell at nobody.
You know what I mean? Don't talk to me that way. I don't need to stand up for myself because other people will do it for me.
Yeah,
what I mean?
It's definitely.
It's just kind of
bad.
that mentality.
No bullying. Like where would you and I be if we didn't grow up in weird areas where
Bullying
you had to be a little bit
I
tougher?
I had this weird haircut and people used to just beat me up all the time, man.
Oh,
and I was one time I ended up getting jumped by like 7 black kids and 2 white kids, and they sprayed me with mace and hit me with bats, and I was only in 4th grade. But you know what, like if you can walk away from something like that, as a 4th grader, let me tell you, things will become a little bit more easier later.
Right, for sure. It's all
Once you see that, okay, the fear factor kind of goes away.
I'm boxing someone. I only got to fight one person. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
wow, this got easier.
And it was something weird about Texas. Like, Texas was weird. There was more younger violence. And I don't know if it's because you get so many, Texas is a different place in general.
It's a whole different animal. When I was living there with my dad, I went back there when I was 18 and I did carpentry with him. and he was living in Euless by Arlington at the time, and man, some old guy blew away a lady on the freeway with a shotgun because she flicked him off. I mean, it was insane. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and this wasn't like inner city stuff. This was
just like.
Yeah,
it reminded me of that movie Easy Rider at the end when they just shot the guys off the bike pretty much for no reason.
Right,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
And it was pretty much just like that. She cut him off, and I watched it on the news, and I was just like, wow, Dad, this place is messed up. I got to go back to Michigan.
yeah. But people are like, yeah, I got to go back to Detroit. Like,
Yeah.
dude, how bad is this community where you're going to go back to, you know, like,
Gotta go back to Detroit.
Yeah, like-
something go.
It's a normal violence.
yeah, like you got to kind of do something, or, you know what you're getting into. But in Texas in those younger years, man, it was bizarre. But looking at it, psychologically and sociologically in those areas, everyone there, especially when you go back into the mid 80s or, mid 80s or early 90s, dude, every dad, well, they said, whatever, get out of this house. You better go take care of that and whatever. Well, Dad, there's 4 of them. Well, I don't care. What do you want me to fight? I'm not going to be around to fight your battles. You go out there and do. And they would push you out of the house to go fight. There was no wah wah and come here. Now the well-to-do areas, like the super rich areas of Dallas Fort Worth, and they had quite a few. But if you grew up in the blue collar,
I never saw any of those.
yeah, it was. I didn't see any.
Richardson.
I didn't see any until I grew up and got older. And then, yes, they raised their kids different, and no bullying, and, touching is not okay, and, all the things. And, when I moved down there, corporal punishment was still, I came from here. We're a liberal state compared to Dallas.
Yeah.
I go down there, I'm playing football. My buddy and I skipped school, did something, and, somehow we got caught. I get called in, and they come down to the principal's office, right? I figure here, I'm a football player, right? And I'm a damn good one. Cool. I'm going to be able to talk my way out of this, right? If I'm not even going to get suspension or, any kind of, detention or anything, right? I go down there. Hey, what's going on? We're going to call your football coach in and whatever. And they tell me this, and this. And I'm just playing dumb. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm here. What's going on? What's happening? Come down. My football coach comes in, and out he brandishes a friggin' paddle like this big with holes in it. Now, we also got licks if, in my football lockers, if you didn't put your socks had to be folded, and, they did your laundry in the field house and whatever. So, your socks had to be folded, and the stripes had to be towards the end. And then this, it was
So
military.
Like a like a military.
And this was this was North Garland High School, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so, this, if you did that, boom, got licks. If you did X, Y, and Z, got licks. If you didn't hang your towel up, dude, they were on you. And this is before I had ever, I'd ever seen or witnessed it. I get called down to the principal's office, and he said, well, this and this, and you didn't make it to 5th and 6th hour. So, and there was a truant officer that said he saw a redheaded boy and a Mexican. And I was, balls, right? I guess it kind of got me dead to rights, And I was like, cool. Well, okay. So, what's the deal? And he, well, go ahead and grab the back of that chair and bend over, boy. And I said, excuse me? No. I was like, you can't just, you ain't my daddy. You're not going to paddle me, whatever. And he said, boy, he was like, if you want to continue to play football this season, he was like, bend over and grab that chair. And I was like, you can't hit me. I was like, dude, what is, I'm from Michigan, right? They look at you the wrong way. Mom, Dad. And I begrudgingly, sat there. He pulled the football card and he was like, cool, you can do whatever you want. If you want to go ahead and deny this, we're going to suspend you. We're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you're not going to play ball this year, and you can go ahead and clean out your locker. And I was like, wow, you guys
Holy
are taking
shit.
this awfully.
Yeah, so, you pretty much, like you said, he had you dead to rights. You're pretty much cared, what's an ass whooping to playing football all year, you know what I mean?
And it was weird in principle, and this is when I realized my mentality of, wow, I've been in Michigan a little bit too long because – wow, dude, you can't touch me. And where do I have these rights? I'm a snotty little kid, and I'm a dick rag football player.
I almost would rather get paddled than
Get the whoop?
suspended.
Oh,
Get the paddle?
I couldn't sit right for a week, man. My man wore me out. I guess maybe because I was so
Being
persnickety.
defiant.
Right.
Yeah.
The obsessive defiant disorder.
And I'm also
Junior high, they had they paddled in junior high.
Did they?
Yeah, junior high they did. I remember the kids screaming. in the
Yeah, I never got
office.
paddled. I got suspended once for a fight in 7th grade.
I
where
wish
tried
they
to
would
keep my
paddle.
nose clean in
Gosh, you
school.
don't even know. I wish they would paddle now. Oh, you don't even know.
And
It would be the greatest thing.
It'd be another huge debate that everyone's talking about on social media, and then we'd all be talking about it, looking at it on Facebook, and somebody would take it too far, and then, it would just be a whole
Just
nother
everybody's
thing.
just a freaking vagina.
Yeah. They
well,
all got
it
a
is.
huge gash.
There is a a pussification of
It's
of
bad.
everything going
it's
on.
bad. And I think it all stemmed. My research shows me it all stemmed with participation trophies.
Even fighters, there's a different level of fighters. You've got fighters that, like, I would never tap to punches. You know what I mean? You've got these fighters that get in a bad position, and instead of getting out of the position or working their way through it, they literally just tap to punches. It's not even a submission. They're not even gonna break your arm. You're just getting punched. Like, those are huge. Those are pretenders, in my opinion, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere in the fight game. You know what I mean? In MMA. So MMA is so much more popular. You have so many more pretenders, guys that want to act like they're super tough, claim MMA fighter, but it's like, you're 0-3. You've tapped the punches 3 times. You suck.
Yeah.
But I still have respect for those. I mean, people die doing this stuff. So if you get in there, even if people consider you a bum, I have respect for you because people die doing this.
And there is a level. At least you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
So you've got
You're
people
getting in
watching
there
and doing.
You're putting yourself out. You're putting yourself out there. You know what I mean? And that's not so easy. That takes guts. But heck, the one guy just the last fight tapped. The ref was about to stop it a second later, and he tapped right before the ref stopped it. So it's just like, man, you were 2 punches away from the ref stopping it. Just let him stop it.
Yeah.
You don't have to tap. Don't take yourself out of it. Don't quit.
When you've got like did you see the Vinny Panzienza movie?
Yeah.
That whatever it was, the Bleed for This or whatever.
Love that movie.
How great was that movie?
That was a fucking
Right?
awesome movie.
And that's dude, we need to do like a movie podcast, you and I,
Right.
dude, because you've seen everything I've
Yeah.
seen. This is
Yeah,
great.
I've seen all these movies, all the old movies. I grew up watching James Bond and shit.
But there is a thing, and it's not the most intellectual thought process, but you're going to have to kill me. I will die in here before I lose, and I will
Absolutely.
Right, for
not
sure.
lose.
That's the way it should be. Otherwise, these guys are just kidding themselves.
Yeah.
They're literally kidding themselves. Because you know what? You'll have to fucking kill me to stop me from walking toward you. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, you'll have to knock me out cold, or I'm already bleeding profusely from the brain. I'm gonna die any second.
Well, and it's weird when you mentioned you do cross fighting, right? It's weird because my biggest knock on MMA, and I go back and I'm like, Chuck Liddell, right? Remember when that was all the rage?
The sprawl and brawl.
And his stand-up game, and how did he end up losing and whatever? No defense. I don't understand in MMA. I almost think that the ABCs of fighting should be boxing, right? That it should be. And when you look at the way the sport has gone now, it's a lot different than the Hoist Gracie days and all the other stuff. But in the modern current realm that we're looking in, I'm like, why do they? Number one, they don't put their hands up, right? They claim that it's because I might have to block a kick or I might have to do whatever. I'm sorry, you've been knocked out. Chuck Liddell, stand-up punching with wild, you could see it coming for him.
Telegraphed, very telegraphed.
Dude, I can see it. I'm sitting on the couch. I took a drink, ate 3 bites of popcorn before the punch landed, and he didn't put his hand up, right? Like, it's in slow motion, and I'm like, dude, you're a professional fighter. How can these guys? And when you look at when Conor McGregor got hit by Frankenstein, right? When Diaz. And dude, he's slow and he's lumbering and his punches are coming from, dude, I could wrap. It's like Fantastic Four. I used this reference the other day, like rubber band arm, like yoing,
Right.
and got hit. And that's why, like, when the Mayweather fight was going to have, I was like, no. I was like, dude, there's absolutely no way, dude. If you can get hit, and dude, Diaz is a good, granted, he has a skull of granite, right? The dude can
Yeah,
take
he's got a
punishment.
great
For
chin.
sure. Oh, yeah.
But 85% of his punches are not crisp, right? They're not crisp.
Nope.
I mean, he does have a decent jab. He's a tall guy and long. But Chuck Liddell got knocked out and lost his career in those like 2 or 3 fights by big, long telegraphed punches. How do you not, why are your elbows not tucked in your hand? How are you allowing those punches? And I'm sorry, Bruce Lee, right? When you talk of mixed martial artist, every time somebody says martial artist, like Bruce Lee pops up.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things when you're on Snapchat and the little heads popping up, letting you know somebody's about to send something. Like, bitch, I see you looking at that snap. Go ahead, keep writing. But how, you didn't see any martial artist getting hit in their upper body by any punch that looks like this. So when you go into mixed martial arts, just the naming of it drives me insane, right? Because I see too many just complete voids. Like, okay, so defense isn't part of the game, huh? We're not going to do that.
Right, and that's something that drives me crazy because the way I got into MMA was, after I graduated from the University of Michigan, I was the boxing coach there. I just tried out for the team, and they're like, dude, you've got way too many fights. We'll never get you a fight. Most of the people just started boxing in college when they got there. I just heard there was tryouts. So I was like, oh, maybe I can go like fight a bunch of guys at tryouts or something. That would be cool. I ended up fighting the whole team, one after another in a row, and just pretty much dropping everyone with body shots. And then the coach was like, dude, just be a coach. Just help me. So that's what I did for my 3 years at the University of Michigan. I was a coach for the boxing team. And when I graduated, just before I graduated, I went to Scorpion Fighting Systems, and James, it's an MMA gym, mostly jiu-jitsu. James had me become the boxing coach, and then I'm sitting there sparring with all these guys, beating the fuck out of them, you know what I mean? And they were like, dude, you gotta try MMA. You have to. You're gonna kill someone. As soon as you hit them with that little glove on, they're just gonna be done, and then that's when I showed you that fight.
Yeah.
My dad ended up getting cancer, and I thought I'd be able to see him after the fight, but he ended up dying the day before the fight. So I wasn't able to go back down to Florida and see him. I'm from the Florida Keys, and I ended up still doing the fight. And it literally, I've never felt so relaxed walking into a fight. Like, honestly, it was like, I've got nothing to lose. And I just did that spinning back kick. And like, if you would have saw people's faces when that happened, they're like, the boxer just did a spinning back kick and knocked the guy out and broke his ribs. Holy shit. You know what I mean? Everyone was just like, and everyone instantly knew me. You're like, you're the boxer that did the spinning back kick. I had people who did taekwondo for like 20 years come up to me and they're like, dude, I've been trying to do that my whole fucking life. Like, I was like, yeah, first try. You know what I mean? Like,
you remember the Buster Douglas, obviously you've watched boxing your whole life. You've boxed your whole life. The Buster Douglas, Tyson. Mind you, Tyson didn't train properly. He was, was already.
He definitely underestimated Buster, and he went through the same thing. He just lost his mom. So,
I'm sorry, dude. What you went through, that has to be, and kudos for actually going through the fight and whatever and getting your head, But then again, if your head is, screwed on properly, you have that, I have nothing to lose, this, and this. And that Buster Douglas, like, for him to go out and fight. Now, mind you, we all know that Tyson was going off the rails. But I'm sorry, you do not want to fight an individual when they are in that exact mindset. Like, you couldn't. The amount of rage, even if it's a calming, like, because now all the things that you were worrying about that were in your head are now gone. You can't worry about them anymore. There is no what if. The what if, has already transpired.
Absolutely.
But there has to be a next level of like either power generation, clarity, or rage, or just to
a combination of all three things, a culmination of calming and rage. And it's like you want to be as relaxed as possible in a fight, so you have vision, see everything, and not tire yourself out. But at the same time, you got to be able to go from 0 to 100 and strike like a snake and be quick and and finish the fight. So yeah, I think I definitely had something extra that night. I think my dad may have helped somehow spiritually, maybe help guide my timing and everything like that. And I was just in the fight for about 1 minute and 30 seconds, and I hadn't thrown any kicks, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is MMA. And then I just tried a spinning back kick, which I did at the heavy bag all the time just for fun. So it's not like I never threw that kick. I practiced it a lot. It was like the only kick I land. And I smoke people in the gym with it all the time. Like, boom, right in the ribs. It's like, when they're worried about your hands and they're punching, other things open up. So I actually do get quite a bit of submissions and kicks landed because people are getting punched so much. You know what I mean? When I punch, it's punches and bunches. It's not like one jab, 1, 2, you know, I'm always keeping it on him, you know what I mean? So that opens up a lot of things. My judo coach wanted to give me a green belt just because I would toss him after punching him in the face a bunch of times, and then I'd toss him. I don't even know any of the Japanese language.
Right,
you know,
right.
so I was like, no, I'm not going to accept your green belt. Like, that would be disrespectful to judo, you know,
For sure,
and all
yeah.
the people that actually put in work. So then he's like, okay, he sends me the list, so I have to learn all the words. I never end up learning them, so I didn't get my green belt. So. Because I'm not really worried about the traditional, like, awards or anything. Like, I just want to fight until I can't fight anymore and try to get that big money fight, you know. And then go get if you're gonna get your ass beat, go get it for 500,000, not $500.
That's
Right,
right.
yeah, right?
Yeah, because there is a level of doing what you love, you know, doing what you love, but then also taking the business aspect into it.
This
And
is a business. This isn't amateur anymore. Amateur, you go to the tournaments, the best always fight the best at the end in the final. But this is pro. Like, who did Mayweather fight coming right out of, you know, Olympic bronze medal? He fought a guy who was 0-4. Like, everyone's done this. This is the way it's always been done.
For sure.
Except guys like Lomachenko.
Right.
Lomachenko has changed the dynamic of that. But he had so many, 398 amateur fights. Like,
That's crazy.
well,
Man.
and even Alvarez had some astronomical number also, right?
I think he had a lot of pro fights, which substitute because there's no amateur program in Mexico.
in Mexico, that's right.
He turned pro at like 15, and he was knocking. I mean, and they're doing the same thing. I mean, this 15-year-old guy knows how to box well. Okay, well, let's get the liquor store owner down the street. We'll pay for his license, put him in there. He could throw a couple punches and gets knocked out. You know, he's a showcase for a highlight, pretty much, is what most of these guys are in the beginning. You know what I mean? But it depends on if you have the opportunities to be on the A side. Lots of these guys be like, I want to fight. Well, the promoter's going to ask, well, how many tickets you sell? That's all he cares about. See, I sell 200 tickets a fight. You know, if I bring in $15,000 worth of tickets, that pays for all kinds of fights. So then he's making money of a fighter like me. That not only do I pay for my slot, which my opponent's going to get $1,500, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I'm going to get 1,000 or something, and then you know, how much did he make on me? 12,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, so
Right.
And that's
what you need. You need to figure out what the solution is for you to get on the A side. And lots of these fighters are too dumb to figure that out. See, I started my own promotion, got the promoter to get in, my boxing promoter to get into MMA. So now I'm the matchmaker for MMA at the Motor City Casino. The last fight, which was August 25th, I matched that whole fight.
Oh, nice.
So now the casino actually pays me to match MMA fights at the casino.
That's
so not
sweet.
only do I fight there every single time, but I couldn't fight the last time because they wanted to see, it was their first MMA show, and they wanted to see how it was all going to go down, you know. So they we know you can.
You wanted to
match.
run it, more or less.
Yeah, they wanted me to run the show, so that's what I did. I got my suit. I was making sure all the guys were in the ring the right time. All the contracts were in. I did all the contracts, negotiated all the purses. So I'm a lot more diverse than your regular dumb fighter that's like, oh yeah, I'll fight him for $500 and yeah, I'll fight anyone. He goes in and gets his ass kicked.
Right.
You know, some of these guys are 0-7 now, and now they have to go out of state to get a win before they can come back into Michigan and fight again, because, you know, once you have so many losses in a row, you have to go out of state to get a win. Michigan's not going to let you fight again, you know, so you're pretty much retired unless you find a solution somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, and I can't imagine, you know, going after it. I don't know. It's anything. It's football. It's, you know, football, lifting, boxing, baseball, whatever. Losses are not an option, right? And granted, in team sports, you have to, right?
Right.
It happens. There's
For
no way
some-
around it.
For some guys, it's part of their whole lifestyle. Like this one guy, the biggest, they did an HBO special on him. You can look him up. Rod Strickland, the biggest loser in boxing. Guess what his record was? Just someone take a wild guess. 69 wins, 278 losses, and 19 draws. Pro. 278 losses, 69 wins is a lot of wins.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
right.
that's a lot of wins.
That's a lot of wins. That's impressive. And if you go and you look at,
So how did you fit in 348
because
fights?
this guy's fighting, he's fighting on Saturday. He's fighting sometimes 4 times a month. He gets a call, and the way he fights is he's not. He usually doesn't beat the other guys. You know, he's not that great of a boxer, but he'll hold a lot. He'll rabbit punch a lot, and he ends up getting through the fight because when you get knocked out, you get medically suspended. You know, or if it's a TKO. If it's a TKO in Michigan, it's 30 days. If you don't make the 10 count, so if the ref stops it and you're on your feet, 30 days. If you get knocked down and you don't make the 10 count, it's 60 days. And if you get knocked out cold, like the guy in my profile video who didn't move for 5 minutes, that was like 100 days or something like that. Like he was just didn't move for 5 minutes, and they added on extra days because they're like, dude, you got so fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Dang.
Yeah,
so
I don't.
It just depends on
Yeah, that's. I mean, look, you gotta love the tenacity of an individual that's going to do that to eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I have so much respect for that guy, but at the same time, it's like trying to wrap your head around 278
Right.
events. I mean, literally, this guy had over 300 events that he went to. You know, each one memorable, each one a huge memory, each one a huge risk. And I mean, and he ends up getting through. I mean, he's fought everyone too. Lots of world champions, lots of good guys, contenders, bums.
I mean, it'd make for a great book. Like the dude needs to write a book or get a
like
ghostwriter.
HBO did a
Right.
special on him, but they called it The Biggest Loser in Boxing. So, you know what? I mean, take it for what it is.
Right.
You got
Yeah.
a special about yourself, but it's because of how many times you've put yourself on the losing end.
It's not
Yeah.
the weight loss show.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Well, and some things, I mean, everyone has a different, a different outlook on it. But if I'm not that good at something, I'm a realist. I will get to a point where I go, yep, maybe this ain't my cup of tea.
That's like
or
ninja-jitsu, straight up jiu-jitsu.
what do you know about ninjutsu? It's another Japanese.
Nothing.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. I
Kind
remember
of.
the one guy who fought in like the very first UFC said he did ninjutsu. He was a guy with a big mustache, mullet with a mustache. The very first UFC, he ended up getting fucked up so bad. So I wasn't really like ever too hot on the whole ninjutsu.
Right,
thing. And he
right.
fought like a simple guy, like somebody that was just like a grappler or somebody that was a wrestler. You know, I think he was a wrestler actually. The guy wrestled him down and just beat the hell out of him. So
Yeah,
Well,
because it's
when-
ninjutsu. From what I can recall, my buddy's dad was local, and we also we took boxing. We kind of went Lionheart style, right? One of the guys I went to high school, high school ish with. His dad was karate everything, and he built a makeshift mini ring in their basement, right? Had a huge huge basement in Canton. And we would box there. We would do whatever. He would work within, kickboxing and Ishinryu and this and this. Well, he got into ninjutsu, which it's a lot like the Steven Seagal, like stand-up jiu-jitsu. A lot of throws. It's breaking. If you basically, from what I can recall, because we did train for a little while with it until they went, oh, you have to pay this and you have to sign this and whatever. Obviously, we didn't have to have the money. And, what the hell am I going to sign something with, that you're training this fighting style?
pretty sure Steven Seagal is Aikido.
Aikido, yeah.
So that's the throwing and the tossing.
And-
It's kind
and-
of like judo, but it's a little bit.
But it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's more of arm. It's more of arm throws.
Right. I
not so
love
much
Aikido's
body
my
throws,
thing.
yeah.
Aikido's cool.
Yeah, and dude, it was a weird thing, right? And it was because I was playing football and I was one of the bigger guys in there. They would do knife training and weapons training and everything. Like, here, go ahead and hold, And this guy looked like Luigi and Mario from Super Mario's, right? Short guy, belly out to here. This, and he would, take a rubber knife and give it to me, and all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and he would, okay, as soon as you feel me move, go ahead and from that point he would pressure point, turn and top of your hip and top of your toe, and you're frozen. And okay, come in and you're gonna do this and that and throw a punch. He would take the punch, throw, right? He would do it, obviously not to break your arm or whatever. But the way it was studied was, you throw a punch, you've only got 4 weapons. If somebody throws a punch, you take it, right? Same thing if you had a gi on, right? So it was really weird. You would take this, step inside the leg so you can't kick. I've got this. This is the only weapon you have available, like with your other arm. And it was kind of weird. I studied it to a point, and then, of course, my buddy's dad, when he would get back from, training, because he kept doing it when we were, I think we were 18. And as he'd do, he'd work us through some stuff and work us through, and he would show, and then, you know, he would use us as, you know, crash dummies. But it was very bizarre, and I don't understand that. Like, later I got into a fight with a big steroid mongrel guy, right? Like, dude was impressive looking. Like, big traps,
Shredded,
big, just
veins everywhere. Just
yeah,
huge.
yeah, huge dude. And I was like 230, 235. I was lifting, but obviously not training in any way. We're breaking up a fight. It was at my buddy's house, and I was like, whoa, everybody, dude, this is a beautiful house, like a $350,000 house. Like, stop,
Right.
stop. And of course, the fight breaks out, and we're trying to separate it. Somehow, I guess in that breakup point that I had pushed somebody, you know, over into this big guy. So Mr. Big Guy comes up out of nowhere, throws a punch from nowhere. All of a sudden, last second. What freaks me out about anything, like, you know, training wise, whether it be boxing or whether it be, and this was a sliver. Like, I couldn't show you, like, oh, okay, the pressure point is here, or you turn the wrist that way. But out of nowhere, throws a punch, threw the punch, barely touched, wrist, elbow, you know, wrist turn, elbow lock, and had him locked, holding up against the wall.
Right.
I don't even know how. It could have gone horribly wrong, but it was too late for me to actually throw up and, you know, block something because I'm engaged here. But he threw the punch, move, turn, elbow lock. You know, I was like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you touching me? You know what I mean? Do not touch me. I'm trying to, you know, stop this fight from happening in my buddy's house. Release his arm. Somebody had grabbed him, pushed him back, comes over, throws another punch. And then in the same token, and again, it was like he was hiding behind me, and he wasn't throwing roundhouses. They were straight good punches. But he threw the punch, and this time instead, you know, I kind of, you know, peripheral, thank you football for peripheral vision, that see something coming out of the other side and, you know, enough to step back, grab the wrist, turn, nose down, and nose pointing to the ground.
Right.
So I did the exact same move in reverse, but I could not tell you how I did it. And that still baffles me to this day, because the dude was 6'3", you know, 6'3", probably, you know, 250, 260, and, you know, then again, you know, fighting, you know, fighting, you know, bodybuilders or whatever.
I mean, when you're training, things just become more natural, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it just becomes more of a routine, a muscle memory, you know, and sometimes you know, like that one guy knocked out, like I never knocked anybody out with one punch ever that was just out cold. But it's like, you know, I've thrown that overhand right so many times that it's like, oh, if you walk into it the wrong way, then yeah, maybe you might go to sleep. So that really surprised me that he was out cold like that, you know, for so long. But it was just a punch I've thrown a million times, and it just landed perfectly, the right time perfectly, you know. So, you know, I couldn't tell you why I couldn't land the last fight. I couldn't land that punch, you know. On the last guy I fought, I ended up winning a decision. I couldn't knock that guy out. That's the guy that I'm fighting again in this rematch, but we're fighting 6 rounds instead of 4 rounds.
How much do you watch a lot of tape on your fighters and, you know, people that you're going to get into?
Probably about 4 days before the fight is when I'll start looking them up. Not really, you know, my whole, you know, philosophy is, you know, don't worry so much about what they're going to do, worry about what you're going to do. So if you keep your hands up and you do what you're supposed to do, then, you know, everything usually will turn out in your favor.
So playing
Right.
from...
Right, so I usually try to focus more on me, not so much on the other guy. But I do take about, you know, 4 days before and maybe at night before I go to bed, I'll look at a couple fights on YouTube, and I might see something, you know, just to get a kind of an idea about how they stand.
Well, and it helps
what they
when you
lead
see...
with. Yeah, I like to have that visual, but I definitely don't spend the whole camp, you know, focusing on what my opponent's doing. Not at all. No, not at all. You know, like.
So it's more the golfer philosophy, right? It's about you, your stroke, your everything.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you're never satisfied, just like golf.
Because
you're never satisfied. You could have had a better shot back there. You could have not missed that shot back there. And you're always thinking, oh, I should have ran. You know, or I'm gonna run now. You know, you always try to make sure that you never have that little regret. You know what I mean?
Right. Because in football playing, you know, football, you know, coaching or, you know, watching film and doing whatever, right? There's, you know, you've got 2 things. You're going to go out like the Vince Lombardi. He would go out and he was running in between the tackles. He was, you know, doing this. This is exactly what he was going to do. And we're going to get 3.2 yards per carry. and we're going to get a first down every time, right? If you get 3.5 yards every time you touch the ball, that works.
It'll be a first down.
Then you've got other that come up, and you've got the Peyton Mannings of the world. You come up and they just put 8 in the box. We're gonna, we're gonna audible. We're gonna do this, right? So you're working on multiple levels of game plan. So it's always interesting to see some people, what their mind goes through. Are you watching a lot of a film, especially when you're having a rematch? Like, if I fought this guy and why didn't I hit, when he did this, how
I'll
come?
I'll watch our fight again, the one that we just fought, I'll watch that. But in my mind, this ain't going to be the same guy. I think he's going to be working harder, just like I've been working harder. The last fight didn't really work that hard. And in my mind, I didn't work as hard as I could. And I did that on purpose because I have more experience. He's 2-6, a scrappy guy as a boxer. He's more of an MMA guy, But I like to fight guys that are willing to fight me in both. You know what I mean? So that's been my business plan. It's like, so mostly the MMA guys are willing to try boxing. They're willing to get in there and try it, like Connor.
Mm-hmm.
But the boxers absolutely will not try MMA. Like, literally, they will not. I'm like the only boxer that has literally in Michigan.
Well, and that's why I was interested when you said the duality of doing both, because, boxers, when I had the argument about, McGregor and whatever, and I was like, dude, the amount of training, dude, I played football, I did everything, dude, boxing was a heck of a lot, more taxing and training wise than football ever was, per position, per whatever.
Right.
And when you're crossing over into that, I was like, his wind will not last, his this and that will not last.
Yeah.
You need to do, but for a lot of times boxers will get to a point that, hey, I'm a good boxer. If I learn the rest of this, I can parlay that, and they'll make the transition and go directly into MMA if they're going to try. Like, they're done with boxing.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of boxers would do really well because the fight starts on your feet. Every fight starts in a boxing position. And in my opinion, the three main disciplines that you need to be a well-rounded mixed martial artist is, number 1, wrestling. Number 2,
I was just gonna say wrestling.
Number 2, jiu-jitsu, and number 3, boxing. You need those big 3. If you're just a taekwondo guy and a jiu-jitsu guy, and your hands are, your boxing is not going to be there, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage. And I think a lot of these boxers would be knocking people out if they just tried it.
When I was doing the MMA, I was training. When I was wrestling, because I wrestled for 7 years, something like that. And then the boxing would come in, the fighting, and then not necessarily the bar atmosphere fighting, but it was still the boxing, learn how to fight and how to counter and how to, block. So that's what, wrestling. Wrestling was my thing. The wrestling was the leverage, the point.
I think that's the number one thing, because let me tell you, I can box for 12 rounds and, I'll still be like cool. I'll be exhausted, but at the same time, like, I could run to the locker room.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I had to. But
center of gravity, the whole
6 minutes of wrestling straight hard.
It was
and
hard.
It's like you're
hard.
so exhausted, and then your punches. You go back to trying to punch. It's like the one fight I lost. One of my big regrets is that I had him in a guillotine, and I always choke people out with guillotines. I have an abnormally strong grip strength, my coach says. So I was surprised that I didn't choke him out, but my problem was that I didn't have my hand here. I was holding my wrist here, and so when I was going up to try to choke, I was breaking my own grip. What you need to do is have this here, and then you can go up, squeeze with this hand, and then you put this up against their other artery, and they just go to sleep. So if I would have did that, I would have been 4-0 as an amateur and won the fight. I wouldn't have lost that decision. But it's my arms after the first round, like, I had no boxing skill because my arms were so – I had never felt like that before. So I did a lot of kicks just to, like, keep them off me. But it's like my jab wasn't there, my hooks weren't there, and I was in serious trouble. Like, if my perseverance and my heart and my will weren't so strong, he would have stopped me in the second round. You know what I mean? He got on my back. He was hitting me. I ended up rolling. I was holding his arms, underneath my armpits and just kind of, like, trying to get him off my back. Third round came, and I started getting my arms back a little bit, but they still weren't my usual self. So that guillotine that I attempted and held it for a minute and used all that grip, and I was like, ooh, like, I tried so hard. that was such a miscalculation on my part. You know, if you don't get it in 10 seconds, let it go.
Let it go.
Let it
Change,
go.
yeah.
Yep. So that's why I learned from that fight. And, you know, like I said, I've never been stopped in a fight, never been knocked out, never been submitted, you know, and these guys consider me a mixed martial artist, but they know that they want to take me down right away. They don't even want to try boxing with me because, you know, they may get knocked out and they don't want that.
Right. And that's one thing in this that, you know, where you have a wrestler or somebody who's, you know, and, you know, MMA, right? I watch it. I study it also. I find a lot of flaws in it, right? From the purity of boxing, right? When you two people fighting the exact same style. It's very easy when there's so many mixtures. But when you have something like wrestling that will negate that stand-up fighting style, if it's done correctly, right? If, you know, the other individual
if
cannot
if they're able to take you down and apply
Right.
it, you know what I mean?
Because
not all wrestlers can do that against someone with good feet, you know, and good striking. They end up getting knocked out before that happens.
Exactly. I had to do some training, you know, in high school to, you know, it's like, you know, 5 o'clock high with, you know, I'm supposed to be fighting the toughest wrestler and whatever, and I'm good with my hands. If I hit this guy, I'm bigger and stronger. It's going to be fine. But they're like, dude, you do understand he's beat up like 5 of the toughest dudes. And I'm like, and they were all football players. And one of them was a boxer and whatever. And I'm like, balls. So I sat and trained with a friend of mine with him doing a single leg takedown, trying to do a single leg takedown and how I could get a punch off properly. Because he was like, dude, if he takes you down, no offense, you're a tough dude.
You're done, though.
You're done. He's done it to like 5 other people. And this dude was fighting his way through everybody. And my buddy was an all-state wrestler, and he was like, dude, I wrestle him. I will lose wrestling him. He's insane, and he's nuts. And, dude, he's really good at what he does. But he's not going to stand there and box you. He's not going to do anything. He's going to shoot, and he's going to take your leg, and he's very good at it. Even if he barely does it, he will climb you like a spider monkey.
Yeah, and you gotta respect that.
You
and
have to.
What kills me is that a lot of these fighters and I do the same thing too. I try to mentally terrorize every opponent by being nice to them or talking a little bit of shit to them very subtly. But I'll be like, well, we know you're just going to try to take me down. You don't have the balls to stand with me. You know what I mean? But that's not the fight. He has every right to take me down, hold me down, and just work position. That's in the rules. You know what I mean? Just like some guys in boxing only punch to the head or some guys only punch to the body. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
and at the end of the day, it's about, and I'm sorry.
A win is a win, in my opinion. You find the way to win the fight, and even if it's ugly, like George St. Pierre, you know what? He was one of the best that ever fought MMA, and all of his fights were boring.
Silva was my guy.
Boring. Silva, you gotta love Silva. He always made it exciting.
He was
even when he lost.
Dude, the
his leg.
first round was just feeling you out,
Yep.
seeing what you do. And second round, lights out, dude, because he figured out where your flaw is.
Oh, for sure.
He was sick.
In boxing, your cues, whether it be your footwork, whether it be your hips, your shoulder, if you've got a hitch, if you're, just giving a slight hitch in your shoulder before you throw, your jab or before you throw a power punch or even counting the punches, right? Where you're
any kind of telegraphing, and a lot of the MMA guys do that. They do the, like you just said, a little hitch, like a pull, instead of just throwing it from their face. Like, what I like
or even a hand.
You already got the bow and arrow pulled back. All you gotta do is let it go. You're not gonna pull it back more. All you gotta do is let it go. So just let it go from your face. Don't have any extra movement. And a lot of these MMA guys do that. They wind up, you know what I mean, and they show you it's coming. So it's easy to
and if your footwork and your hips and everything, cool. I see that. You're going to go ahead. You see that hitch. You know that's coming. Obviously, move away from the power side. If that's coming to the right, step to the left.
Kick you in the face.
Like you said, punches and bunches. If you take a step and you know your jab is going to get there before that hitch is moving, you've already seen it a time or two. Go ahead and you take that quick step to the side, repossession your hips. Boom, boom, boom. That punch is still there. It may graze. It may get there, but you're going to get off 3 or 4 punches before that one. Depending on speed and whatever. It's crazy. I'm gonna attack Matt and try and beat Matt up in the parking lot now. You got me fired up.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna jump on your back.
Dude,
I'm gonna ride you like a My Little Pony.
Bring it.
Direct choke.
That's right.
Well, it was funny. I when I was bouncing the bar, I bounced like 20 years of my life at bars, and
I always want to be a bouncer, but they always just take one look at me and they're like, just looking at you, people will just punch you.
and there was a guy that wouldn't take his hat off, and you can't wear the hat backwards in the hole, and he wouldn't do it. I told him, warned him like 3 times, and I knew the guy he was with. They're all steroid big guys, and I'm like, Dave, you got to tell my man to take his stuff off. I told him 3 times, and he's like, no. And he's like, guy's getting all, veins are popping. I'm like, dude, seriously, take the hat off. He's like, no. And I was like, all right, come on, let's go. You're going. Well, he tried to grab me, so I fucking underhook, came up behind him, choked him out right on the freaking right in the bar, right in front of everybody. And then he was and the funny part about this is like back in the day. So he had a white vest on with white pants. So go figure with a white
Don
Kangol.
Johnson,
right? I don't know what he was
Miami
thinking,
Vice.
right? I know, I was dying. I don't want to say that, but it was the truth. And so we drug him out in his in his white outfit. It was hilarious.
It's so funny that you said Don Johnson, because when I was in the Florida Keys, they used to have these offshore boat races that were just these crazy huge long
for sure.
boats.
cigar,
that were just,
yeah.
Yeah, they were just
Speedboats.
Don Johnson pulled up to the marina once in his huge boat.
Really?
He had
Nice.
a huge offshore race boat like that, and it was fucking Don Johnson. Everybody was all over him, like
Might have been
white
his-
on rice.
Might
Yeah.
have been right in his penis. His penis was like a boat.
Yeah, they did say he was him and Liam Neeson supposed to be packing the heat.
Yeah,
yeah.
big
Oh,
time.
I never heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, Don Johnson, they said, yeah, well, look, Melanie Griffith is still crazy after him. She's, Antonio Banderas and whatever.
Well,
and
she wants the D
Yeah.
and the V.
Yep. Once you've had the best, you don't want any of the rest.
D and
yeah.
the V.
Okay, so the fight coming up, MGM Grand Casino.
Motor City
Motor
Casino.
City.
Yeah,
Okay.
Motor City.
Motor City.
Motor
All the
City.
goddamn M's. All right, so Motor City, and what's the date?
November 3rd.
November 3rd. I'm gonna sneak out of here. I'll probably give Aaliyah her
Yeah, we'll be
one
there.
her one chance. Be like, guess what? You're working November.
Yeah, we'll be there.
And yeah, that'll be.
We'll see if the girlie wants to. I'll probably bring Joe.
Of course
Shirley.
you would. Because
Well, why wouldn't you?
I
She
don't
loves
know.
that stuff. She likes fighting. Unless you want to just make it a boys' night, that's fine.
So that means I have to go
Do you wanna-
talk nice to a hooker and see if I
That's
can get her to
fine.
go
We can
without
get you a
charging me?
hooker. We can get you a hooker.
What do you mean?
Remember
I've got a-
prostitutes?
I'm
We
sure
can find
there's
you one.
some in the casino.
I've got a Rolodex. Are you kidding me? Dude, I've worked at every strip club in the planet.
I'm pretty sure you can find some.
So we've got that. Because we didn't go ahead and preload or whatever, what I'm going to do over the next, between now and, when we've got even though it's a bastardization of the whole deal, the Devontae Wilder and was supposed to fight King Kong, whatever, but he tested positive for something. They're saying it wasn't a
Gomez. He was going to fight Gomez, right? Is that who it was? And then now he's fighting Bermain Stavern again.
and he
which
beat that
was-
dude. I mean, he's got the Predator dreadlocks and whatever.
Right.
And I mean, I'll give the dude credit. He can take a punch, but boy, oh boy,
Yeah, he definitely took a lot of punches.
like he gets
that fight, but
emotional. He gets emotional when he gets punched. Like in boxing, you see a lot of people that whatever, and that didn't hurt, and
try to be stone faced as much as
Yeah,
possible.
no, he-
But yeah,
like he would look at the camera like.
don't have.
And he would go right back to fighting, but he would get clocked. And the one thing, it was funny because I've got a customer who comes in here quite a bit, and we were like, Mario, so I immediately cast it up and watched, and I was like, dude, I didn't know you got beat up last week. What do you? I don't never get beat up. Whatever. Put it on there, and he looks just like him. And then of course we're making fun of him with his with the funny face he was getting when he was getting punched or whatever. So. All right, so we're going to do that. I'm going to retouch on this. Obviously, maybe I'll even see if I can't get, Pete to come in and do a show, the announcer guy and whatever. We talk about all the fights, going on and all the other stuff that's happening. But I will play, anytime it goes into, boxing or whatever, I'll make sure I get the YouTube and, whatever information I can, and I'll have that playing in the background. Obviously, pre-reference, reference the fight going up. Obviously, let my friends, people that know that we're going to be there, for the fight. And it's been a hot minute since I've been to Motor City.
Right.
I might be able to get you guys media passes too, so that way you can actually write about the fight at the table.
Yeah.
We can do that.
You'd be behind the scenes, but I'd have to just run it by the casino and
All right.
see. I mean, I got a couple other guys in there the last time. They're called Caged in the Cave.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like the undercard kind of, but they do their own thing, small thing out of a studio. And so I got them in there. So I had two two media people.
Hey,
in
whatever you
there.
want to do. If you want to do it, great. If you can, hey, that's
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah, I mean, I'll,
what do you
I'll
want
try
to
to
do?
get you guys in there with a media pass, so that way you can, write about all the fights, and maybe we could keep it a regular thing.
Yeah,
because
no,
Oh,
for-
sweet.
I have I have that pull or whatever.
Yeah,
to be
that's-
able to-
that's
all
a
I gotta
hot-
do is put you on the list, and then they'll check out to see if you're a real podcast
Mhm.
or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure what kind of, but they do a background
Yeah,
check.
sure, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I couldn't be a bigger fight fan.
I know that's why I brought him in, because I know that he likes boxing a little bit more than me. I'm more MMA guy, but
Right.
he really likes the boxing stuff, and obviously you. So I
mean,
thought this would be
I
a good.
like both kind of evenly, but I just hate wrestling because it just exhausts me to death. The wrestling just exhausts me, and then when I can't punch, I feel really, really like vulnerable because now the wrestler's just gonna hold me down.
What
Or
about big time wrestling?
big time wrestling, like the Big Show.
That's right. Jimmy Superfly
The
Snuka and
Hacksaw
whatever.
Jim
Man, I used to
Duggan.
be all into the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and Ravishing Rick
Rude.
and, who else? We had the Bulldog.
Oh, we could go
Rowdy
we could-
Roddy Piper.
That could be a whole nother
Piper.
segment. So it'd be another
Um,
2-hour segment.
You had Owen the Hearts, all the Hearts.
You know what freaks me out now is people who are still into it. Like my sister's ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
There are people that still in that we kind of like grew out of it.
Yeah.
There's people that are still like,
Yeah,
it's
we're all now
real, and
watching
I'm
MMA
pissed
and
off.
boxing, and they're
Yeah.
still watching wrestling. They're like, he got it.
It's
knocked it
real.
out."
It's
Yeah.
real.
It's a thing, and they're going. Yeah, next thing you know, you look in the corner, and they're giving each other like dropping elbows and stuff, and not like funny elbows. Like I'll drop an elbow on a buddy while he's not like, take this, but they're actually like slapping the leg and doing the Hogan. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Like, what is happening?
The best guy though, all time, is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was the
Stunner.
he was the man, dude. I want to say he generated the most,
He
product.
probably did. Like that-
for souvenirs, memorabilia stuff. He was just on fire.
What's crazy is that if you remember him as Stunning Steve
Yep,
Austin,
yeah,
when he had the
Stunner.
long blonde hair parted down the middle or
Yeah,
some
he was
shit.
a-
And then
Okay.
it was like Stone Cold Steve Austin was a totally different
Dude, he was
guy.
such a. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna lie. I watched the whole Raw, and I watched the whole.
I watched that stuff
but the
too.
best part is that it was just this great back storyline, because him wanting to always fight McMahon and chasing after him. And I went down to Raw, down at Joe Louis Arena, and the whole Zamboni he drove and ran into the ring. Dude, it was the greatest time.
I couldn't. I think when Mr. T came out, like with Hulk Hogan, that was
Yeah.
the last one. It was like one random WrestleMania, and that was it. And then I kind of tuned out. I don't. Huh? A little bit longer than normal. Yeah, we're getting ready. We're getting ready
That's
to
good
wrap
stuff,
it. Thank
though.
you
have
for-
to
We can keep
we
going.
have to touch on the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight before he closed up.
Yeah. No,
That's another segment on top
easily.
of it.
Do you know how much money I won on that? On it.
Probably more than me, but I bet on Floyd Mayweather because I'm smart. But I bet 10 people $10 each.
Oh,
so I won
no.
$100.
No, I minimum 100. I also won on the Michigan State game the other day also, and
Well,
that
shame
wasn't.
on you.
Well, yeah, you're a Wolverine.
I mean, I like them both, but I went to school at Michigan, so I got to go with them.
Yeah, and look, I didn't make the bet out of any. It was way too. It was Jameson, right? I'm a little Irish, right? So it was a lot of Jameson, naked girls, and my good buddy Hispanic cook dude, who him and like 5 of his buddies, super boxing dudes, right? So I love it. I see them, we talk. Like I walk in, hey, what's going on, bro? Yo, who do you got? You got Wilder, or you going with King Kong, bro? You didn't hear the, this, dude. We'll get into a 20-minute. There's naked girls and hey, baby, and whatever. And oh my God, how come you haven't called me? And I'm like, get away from me. We're talking about boxing right now. We'll go. But I somehow, after drinking too much, and I was like, man, he's U of M, and he had a U of M shirt on, and I was like, bro, you live in Ipsy, bro. You know what I mean? I was like, that ain't even Ann Arbor, bro. I was like, you're from Miami, man. Come on, just because it's got an M in it, and So and granted, I'm a little intoxicated. Well, I'm a lot intoxicated. So we're going back and forth, and I was like, look, number one, Michigan State plays, Michigan hard, right? It's rival week and whatever. You can go ahead and you can level things out a little bit. Michigan, from what I've watched, is not firing on all cylinders, right? They're not firing on all cylinders. State is maybe just getting their footing, right? They're playing very unimaginative, but a little more Big Ten style football, right? So I go, look, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, we didn't put a dollar amount on anything, right? We were just, back and forth. And I was like, man, dude, how many, 8 out of the last 10, since the little brother comment and whatever, rival week, they're not playing. I was like, they're still overhyping, what the Michigan program is. And I was like, dude, I bet you, man. I was like, I'll bet you whatever. We go to shake hands. Soon as the hands met, $100. And I went, oh. But now I'm into it. I'm engaged. And I went, balls, right? I guess I just won't go out the next week if I lose. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but I'm already in the shake motion and somewhere in, in the honest
So you
man's.
felt obligated that the bet was on.
Well, because I wasn't going to look, in the pussification of America, I'm not going to back out. I shook hands. Shook hands enough to where I was going to bet something. Didn't see $100 coming, but I took my man's $100. So. Yes.
Oh, boy.
And then I get my father calling from Florida going, oh, like you and I could possibly be brothers, right? We both grew up, in and around the same little areas in Texas, the Florida connection, the
Yeah.
whatever.
I was born in
guess
Key.
you
I was born in Key West, though, so
guess
that's,
you'd probably
that's about
spoon.
as southernmost point in the United States that you can get. So,
Yes, you're damn near Cuban, sir.
yeah.
Yeah.
You guys should probably spoon.
But I'm gonna spoon you. I'm gonna fork
Bring
you
it,
in that
mama.
parking lot, you
Yeah, try
bastard.
it. Try
Like, she's like, "Can I watch? Can I film?"
Hey, he's a defensive.
Hey,
coach
there's
now.
another
That's right.
innuendo. Remember?
He's not coaching the receivers anymore.
That's
he's on
right.
the defense. You
That's
better watch
right.
out.
But yeah, I could see, my analogies with anything, right? You're a crossover athlete, but when you take Michael Phelps, right, in a swimming race, and we're going to take Usain Bolt and put him in the pool. Usain Bolt is an exquisite athlete, right?
Right.
He's not going to beat Michael Phelps. He may come close. Who knows? Maybe he can swim.
What about the shark?
Right, and there could be Sharknado,
so
bro.
stupid.
Right, so, but with that analogy with the McGregor and the Mayweather, right, and because I have done a different sport, not MMA, but
Right.
watching McGregor fight Diaz and get winded in that first one, and mind you, he did come up weight and whatever. Okay, I'll give you a little bit on that, but he came up on weight, but he was hit by Frankenstein's slow ass punches, right? I look at it, I watch it, I'm like, no. I was like, dude, he fought Diaz, and the only reason he beat Diaz is because he fought smarter. He stood away, he kicked, he did whatever, he ran through. He was still winded again. He wasn't like, running around and doing backflips.
Right.
And to go into a boxing ring, now I was imagining that Mayweather was going to come out and fight Mayweather. And fighting Mayweather style with a much slower opponent, with somebody who doesn't have the defensive skill to stop the jab, or to even deal with punches and bunches, right? Because people in MMA generally don't throw clear, concise, multiple punches from multiple angles. McGregor, now look, I never discounted that he's not a great athlete, that he's not a very, very good fighter.
Right.
But
I mean, I like him way more than Floyd. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love Conor McGregor, but I mean, you gotta think most people don't have your fight IQ or our fight IQ. That fight was being sold to the people who knew Conor McGregor pretty much, and more people at this point know Conor McGregor than Floyd Mayweather or care about him.
For sure.
So I mean, you could tell the way Floyd came out that he was fighting as the promoter. He came out and he made it interesting. He didn't throw punches for 4 rounds. And just like sometimes my promoter will come up to me and he knows that I'm going to fight this guy and he's way outgunned. He doesn't have my experience, and he'll go, let it go into the second round, instead of knocking him out in like 30 seconds or something. You know what I mean? And that's just because they're putting on a show. They got they got a product they're putting on. I mean, Floyd Mayweather is selling tickets at this show for like $40,000 each. Like, if he comes in there and knocks out Conor McGregor super fast, there's going to be people upset. But if he makes a big drama show, which he did, he gave away the first 5 rounds, and then was like, oh man, Floyd's losing this fight. Everyone's going crazy. They're all talking about it. And all of a sudden I seen what was going on. I was like, he's going to pick it up. I'm not even worried. But I was like, it's 5-0 Conor. Don't get me wrong. It's 5-0 Conor because Floyd hasn't done a fucking thing. You know what I mean? But he was
The first 3 rounds, I thought Conor did actually pretty decent for him.
He did do
but
good.
until he got
Oh, yeah.
gassed.
he did do good, but I mean,
Yeah, he went
Floyd
well
was-
into the
Floyd was
fifth.
letting him-
Well, I'm just saying. I think the first 3
that one
rounds
uppercut
were,
he landed, I mean, even though it kind of grazed off the shoulder and the head too, but it was a well-timed uppercut. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If that could have landed on the chin, being a bigger guy.
I just thought
maybe.
the 3 rounds was solid by McGregor, but then after that, he
No,
got
I
tired.
gave
Well,
him
like,
I gave him 4 going into 5.
I
he
gave
didn't
him
do-
the first 3.
But you had to because he's the only one that did anything. You had to because Floyd literally didn't. I mean, he threw 26 punches in the first 3
And
rounds.
when McGregor came up, he was like, "I made him a Mexican tonight," and whatever.
Yeah, and that was funny because he was just having all those racial overtones and the
yeah.
build up and stuff, and I thought it was funny that the first thing that he said it was a racial
That's
overtone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Even though I don't like McGregor, I don't know.
I love him.
you
I think
you can't
I won
discount-
so much money with McGregor betting all my MMA friends at the gym. They all bet Jose Aldo, Chad Mendez. I'm like, McGregor, he's a striker. He's gonna knock him out. He's gonna knock them all out. And I just kept winning money over until I finally lost to Nate Diaz. But then I got so drunk that night, I was like kicking chairs at the Buffalo Wild Wings because I was like, no, like I was so for sure Conor was gonna win, And obviously I thought he won the second one, but that was a good fight. They should definitely do it again.
Yeah. And it just
Conor's not going to defend his belt, so
Right?
yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what he does. And look, even though I knew he wasn't going to win, and one thing I hate is the overall amount of smack talking. Oh, dude, he's got a tiny little head and his broken hands and his whatever. And I'm like,
that was so funny.
and I'm listening to it, but see, I thought it was I took it as comical, and I went,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, come on, you got to know. But the people that listened to it and then reiterated it, and my Facebook feed is just going, bro.
So many idiots.
And I'm like, dude, have you ever fought a day in your life? Like, have you ever? And they're
Everyone's an expert.
well, no, blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, I'm like. There's a reason why you play the game and you fight the fight because anything can happen, right?
Right.
But I will tell you that the probability is at a high 93 to 94 percentile that it is not going to work.
It was like 98%. Honestly, I was so sure that it was going to go down just how it went down.
Could you- now,
But
see-
I thought it would be done a little bit earlier because I didn't think Floyd would give away 4 rounds.
Dude, nobody did. Who could have imagined that he went?
But after I thought about it from the corrupted business aspect of it, it was brilliant. It was brilliant because Conor didn't lose that fight. I mean, look at it. He lost the fight, but
How much did
he
he take home?
100 million plus.
Conor did? Or
Yeah,
was it not?
Floyd probably took home like
Like,
400
yeah, like
million,
3,
and
4,
then-
yeah.
and
They
then-
never released those figures.
They never
too.
really released the full figures, and they lied about the gate, at the press conference. It was the second biggest gate ever, not the biggest, They said they shattered it, but they didn't, The Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather
was
was
the
still a
biggest.
bigger gate, But the pay-per-view buys were bigger than any.
Could you
of it.
imagine if you had a little bit of that piece of that pie?
Think how smart Conor is. He was where every boxer in the world wants to be, fighting Floyd for just $1 million. How much did Maidana get? $1 million? And then he got $3 million in the second fight. Conor just made $100 million in his pro boxing.
Well, now look,
debut.
you're a promoter, right? You see the business side, and you're
Yeah.
a U of M grad, right? Which I'll give you credit. You guys have a tendency to be a bit smarter than Sparty, right?
They just don't party. I don't think it's about intelligence. I think the Michigan people just don't party like the Sparties.
Yeah, no, not at all. And yeah, believe me, that's how I came up with my, other than Salem, Salem, our fight song was Michigan State's fight song with different words. We had the blue, we were blue and white, green and white. We had the S on one side of our helmet going back to the George Perlis era, era
We
where it
played
was.
Salem, I think, when I was, we played them. And then Canton, too. We played both of them
Yeah.
when I was in football.
Yeah, but
He wasn't a coach then, though. That
No.
was back in the day.
yeah, no. Well, back in the day when Salem was actually still good, and we had Coach Mosimer and the winningest, high school football coach to date at that time, and whatever. It was kind of neat when I pulled that stuff up in Bo
was nice.
Schemblecker, because we ran a pro 4-3 defense, right? Mike, Sam, Will, pro 4-3, 4 down linemen engaged, held. Basically, the linebackers were there to
Absolutely.
make the hits, and we ran a traditional wishbone. A traditional Michigan old school late 80s wishbone. And dude, it was awesome. Triple option, It was neat. It was good football.
We ran the wing T before they switched it to the Delaware wing T, I think it
Right.
was. Or
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a switch, but it was just a regular wing T, so you always had usually an offset back over the tight end, and you have your
Wing,
fullback
a wing.
and a wing back.
Yep.
Which gave some
Well
new
played.
dynamic with some, with a
'Cause
with a jog step and a misdirection and whatever.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I just let's just go that way.
Did you guys have red light, green light? Did they institute that? Or
Red light.
986, 586? Did they institute that?
I can't remember.
Because when you're in motion, you jog, and then
It was like the days of the 848 buck sweep.
buck sweep. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here's where we're gonna do an inland vapor, Matt from Redford, and promotion. Here's the
here you go.
idea of the century. Actually, as soon as I saw this, I have a hard time not looking at things from a business standpoint, right? So the McGregor Mayweather thing was awesome. But there should be a Super Bowl of fighting every year with, top MMA. Dude, why let this die, right? Number one, you saw the dollars it drew, right? And when you see this, if it can be hyped, if anyone, obviously no two individuals will hype it like McGregor or, Mayweather, right? Those were very interesting.
That was very, very
But there should be a Super Bowl on the anniversary of that fight every year, right? There should be a Super Bowl to whoever the top MMA guy in whatever weight class versus, and heaven forbid that the heavyweight class, like, a Brock Lesnar reemerges or something on that side fighting a Devontae Wilder or something like that, right? Or, a Klitschko or, anything of that. But to put that together and knowing that it's boxing.
Which rules? Boxing rules or MMA
Dude,
rules?
it's going to be.
That's the thing, though. Is the MMA guys are more willing to try boxing because lots of them think it's a very.
I got to pee, you guys.
Lots of them think it's a very. It's a limited way of fighting.
Right.
But it's just different. It's very, very technical. It's just different. Everything's more subtle. The movements are more subtle.
Right.
And
It's definitely more technical.
in boxers, I wouldn't say it's more technical. It just ends up being, their technique in punching is a lot cleaner than the MMA.
And their
guys.
strategy to boxing.
Strategy
You know
to
how
boxing
you
is
want to.
different, you know what I mean?
Well, I guess there's strategy too in MMA, but still, it's it's two hands. Everything else is
right. Yeah. I
feet
mean,
kicking.
and the thing is I just doubt. I like the idea that there's a Super Bowl, of fighting, but I think too many boxers are not going to be willing to try MMA.
Well, we got to trademark this. We're already copywriting it and trademarking it, so no one takes the idea. But no, yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I don't know. It's a good idea, actually. You could bring different weight classes into, into.
That was the
NFL.
whole point of my promotion, Dual Combat Sports, that I started and I ended up, merging it with Clip, which is Carlos Illness International Productions. He's the promoter at the Motor City Casino.
Okay.
So he pretty much bought me out, but now I'm the president of his company.
Nice.
So, and that's why I'm the matchmaker at
Nice.
the Motor City Casino.
That's cool.
So.
And look, Matt, as soon as I walk away, he does it. It's the same thing when we talk about racial
What's
issues
that?
or we talk
What?
about anything. What rules is it going to be?
No, because you got to set the standard. You got to, is it going to go
And
back?
I think
Boxing
it'd be
rules is
unfair-
fine,
I
or is
think
it going to
it'd be unfair
MMA?
if
You're
we
yelling.
always
Jesus Christ.
always have the boxers doing, or the MMA guys always doing boxing. Like, some of these boxers are going to have to jump out of their comfort zone and learn to wrestle.
Oh, I was just wondering which way we'd go. I'm not.
Well,
I'm
but-
not
but-
picking
I
a
want to see
side.
Floyd fight Conor in an MMA fight.
Yeah, no. I can show. I could do it with scribble paper and go, vroom, tie him in a pretzel again, going back to the Zohan, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a non sequitur. It's not going to happen, right? Because they don't have the skill set. Boxers, the minute everyone brings up that argument, right? I can tell you from the outset, you do not have the skill set. You cannot learn it. Now anyone in a mixed martial art thing, where you come from a multiple background of training, you are more apt to, because you're taking 13, 14 different, skill sets or abilities to strike, harm, or do whatever. In boxing, you've got two. A right and a left, right? So you're factoring it down to the lowest common denominator. Two men, if you go back to the 1920s and 1900s, Old school. Two guys standing in front. It's the purest nature of it, right? It's two guys standing there throwing punches, which is a heavy part of, and should be a heavy part of your training in MMA. Yes, you're taking away from a lot of that skill set, and not just taking any MMA guy like a wrestler or a kickboxer, but somebody who has boxing skills, fighting skills, somebody that on the onset of, the next year coming up, that is going to put a little more focus into, boxing, right? And not fighting the Floyd Mayweather, the best of the, and even he was 40 years old, and dude, he had ring rust and he was not sharp.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he definitely didn't look like when he stopped Gotti. When he beat the shit out of Gotti, that broke my heart. You know what I mean? I was a big Gotti, Mickey Ward.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. Mickey Ward.
And
that was great.
When he destroyed Gotti, I was like, wow. And that's what I thought this fight would be like. I thought,
Bronco.
I mean, I called it right. Conor will get stopped getting punched too much and not fighting back and that's what happened at the time of the stoppage. I just thought it would be more like Gotti, that Floyd would come out right away and just try to embarrass him like he did Gotti and just hit him so much. But he didn't, because he's the promoter now. Then he was just the fighter fighting for top rank, you know what I mean? Now he's the promoter, so everything he does is more about business. That's why he even took this fight when all the other boxers are like, why are you fighting this guy? You're going to destroy him. Oh, Conor McGregor's good. He's good. He's got a chance. Like, he was building it up from the very beginning. You know what I mean? Because why not?
Why not?
Why
right.
not get $400 million for something we for sure know is going to happen?
Exactly.
There's no risk. For Floyd Mayweather, there was the minimal amount of risk and the major amount of reward. And Conor is he's not scared to throw himself out there for $100 million.
No, and he's a tough dude. He's an authentic Irishman.
Yeah.
Granted, he did box a little bit, and his skill set, if right now he hung up the little gloves and decided to put on the big gloves and trained and started from the bottom, not starting fighting people at this level.
Building, there's plenty of guys that Conor McGregor will knock the fuck out, like straight up.
Dude, Paulie Malignaggi with that whole argument, dude, he'll beat Paulie into next week.
Well, I didn't see all that sparring footage, and from what I see, it was definitely tapered in Conor's favor to try to make some stuff of it. And Paulie's always been a smaller guy, fights at 140.
And
they had him come in there way out of shape. You saw how fat he was when he was sparring Conor. I was like, damn, they've really done him up bad. It was all about just getting that one moment. But I guess from what I heard, Paulie won every round until the 11th round when he got knocked down.
Yeah. Well, look, Paulie, and yes, but if McGregor like trained and did whatever and had a year of training and I've watched some of Paulie's last fights, and they weren't impressive. And I like him as an announcer. I like him, historically for what he's done.
Yeah.
But he is not the same guy he was, 7-8 years ago.
Absolutely
You know what I mean? It's just not there. So, but yeah, the MMA thing,
yeah, why not have Conor fight Paulie next? I mean, there's already a little bit of history. There's a little bit of negativity between them. I bet you any money that would be Paulie's biggest payday ever.
Oh,
more
for sure.
than he got for fighting Ricky Hatton, I can tell you that.
And that would be a good fight. You put him in with mid-level or contenders or something to make it even, to make the fight, to look that way. If Conor wanted to.
Even contenders or prospects that have a lot of amateur fights are gonna school Conor McGregor. He needs to, if he's gonna do boxing, he needs to leave his coaches that are MMA coaches now and go find like a Sugar Hill down at the Kronk, or somebody that was trainer of the year in boxing. And
it seems like England's got quite a few good boxing coaches running around, because
sure they do.
they're pumping out good, and they're pumping out a lot of good heavyweights. Amir Khan, it's a shame because Khan was a good finesse fighter, but has no chin.
Well, he has no chin compared to getting punched by Canelo, who's 2 weight classes above him, and it's the same thing that, Triple G fought Kell Brook, and, Kell Brook did really good. He's faster, but Triple G's punches broke his eye socket right away. It was just like, it's a bigger guy.
Well, and then it comes into the Mayweather factor, right? When you're that elusive and your defense is that, because you look at his dad and his uncle. dude, no defense, right? Or, you know, a smidgen, but horrible.
Definitely
like,
not Floyd Mayweather.
Definitely not.
The
So
other Mayweathers were good boxers in their own right, but yeah, they definitely were on the defensive skill level as Floyd.
yeah, dude, I watched the Sugar Ray Leonard. I went back and started, you know, I was trying to show people like history of boxing when, you know, and I was like, Sugar Ray Leonard, right? The only thing you guys know is, you know, all you know currently is Mayweather. But look at Sugar Ray. Look at what Sugar Ray Leonard did. You know, and I actually put up the Mayweather because, you know, it was getting close to the fight and I was still arguing with people. So I was like, no, here, I'm chasing him around in the kitchen, forcing him to watch fights on the laptop. And it was pretty funny watching the Sugar Ray, you know, Sugar Ray versus you know, Mayweather Senior. That was an interesting fight. It was
all of them. I love them old boxers, man.
I mean, and see, that's where.
And then didn't Roger Mayweather fight Julio Cesar Chavez, and then he got knocked the fuck out bad, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, look at Roy Jones Jr. I love that guy.
Come on, man. He was pound for pound.
He was unbelievable.
Sugar Shane
but
Mosley, man. I mean, Sugar Shane was, you know.
that Tarver fight, that one that
Yeah.
knocked him out, and then the next fight when he fought Glenn Johnson, he was just so out cold, and it was just the worst thing I ever saw. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, please stop. And he's been knocked out like 8 times in a row now. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah,
like,
when he went down, he went down. I mean, he was.
and all of his knockouts lately have been like that. Like he
Really?
fought the Russian guy.
Ugh.
He fought this Russian guy over in Russia, and the Russian guy knocked him out, and he was out cold.
Oh,
like,
jeez.
Dude, who did George Foreman say he wanted to come out and fight recently? Dude, am I the only person who
didn't
saw
hear
that? George Foreman
yeah,
and something.
He said, who was it?
Who was it? It was either somebody who's not, who either isn't a boxer or was something.
Oh, Steven Seagal.
That's
Oh.
right, Steven Seagal.
That's
You're
why
already
you.
talking
That's why
about.
you
Yep,
show up.
that's
That's
right.
why you show up.
It was
You were
right on the
losing
tip
on the
of- it was
cards,
right
but
on
you
the
just
tip of
came
my
back
tongue.
right there,
It was
buddy.
right on the tip of my
What do you
tongue,
mean?
Steven
Bernard
Seagal.
Hopkins. Love that guy.
Yeah, Bernard Hopkins.
I just said you were losing on the cards, like overall for the overall show. You were way
Oh,
down on
really?
the cards,
Wow.
but then you pulled out a
Wow.
Steven Seagal. We were both stumped.
yeah, that was a knockdown.
Boom.
Steven Seagal.
That's it. I'm off my
Whatever.
feet, buddy.
That was a knockdown. Yep.
Dude, what it's turning into is celebrity boxing. Remember when you'd have like Danny Bonaducci fought somebody or whatever, like the
Didn't he
celebrity
fight Screech or something?
something. And
Wait, didn't Nancy Kerrigan fight Tanya Harding?
I don't think so. I don't think you can get those
Oh,
bitches.
yeah, no, she just got. beat
Yeah,
up
she
by-
just got smacked with a lead pipe.
She took a knee.
Way to go, Joe Louis.
She took a knee.
Dang.
Yeah, talk about the greatest moments of
was
Joe Louis
savage.
Arena, right? Yeah,
If Nancy Kerrigan is listening to this, she's gonna think that he is a savage.
yeah,
Yes, that's right.
yeah. No, that was
No prisoners.
that was game. You're really turning it on here in the later rounds, buddy. But yeah, I do have to upload this and go check on my dogs and whatever. But we're gonna take that day. I'm gonna take that day off.
Yeah, we'll go.
Right, you're
For
gonna
sure.
go
What
on
day-
a mini
what day is that?
honeymoon.
What day is that?
Friday,
Friday
November
night?
3rd. Yeah.
Oh,
It's gonna be
no.
what
I'll
7
send you the
7 to
post-
9
I'll send
ish.
Matt the poster.
We might be in football playoffs. Oh no! Wait a minute. We might be playing playoffs on Friday.
During the day.
No, on Saturday. Saturdays, I mean. I don't know. It all depends on place. We've got 2 more games left, so that's going to
Yeah.
be the bottom of
So, yeah,
October.
we'll see.
So we'll see where playoffs land us.
I don't care. I'll go by myself.
Well, no. Well, if it's football, I got to do football.
Or you know what? You do the football. I'll take the young lady out. Maybe we'll get to know each other
That's
a little
fine.
bit. I met her that one time she came to the shop. She
good.
seems nice.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll see like, oh my God, girls who don't wear glitter and
Oh,
know
she's
heavy
straight
amounts
up
of
fun.
makeup and whatever.
Yeah, she's not like that.
No, she's a real person, dude. I know there's real females out there. I seem to get caught up with the ones who wear sparkly
Right.
sparkles and
Very
and their name is Sparkles.
My wife's pretty real.
Yeah, mine was too for about 6 months until I got a divorce. But I was with her for 6 months prior. Like I have the shortest, like only QRS. I think we're battling for.
Yeah.
For the shortest, but mine was 6 months, and
We've been together 9 years now, so it's
no, that's great, dude. I just wish, I mean, you've talked to me a little bit, right? I seem to be normal, and then I say weird stuff, and I do whatever. I really don't care. I just, I've aged pretty cool. I clean up after myself. I like clean stuff, which seemed to be a big, huge problem. Like in my, in my late 20s when I got married.
hygiene's not a problem.
No, not at all. And I'm not a stinky dude. Like I would have to have the flu for like 3 days.
Dog loving is the number one.
Yeah, I just had to cut one loose because she doesn't like dogs. I got a Belgian Malinois Shepherd and an old, like 12-and-a-half-year-old black lab, and the girl's like deathly afraid of dogs. But the sex is really good.
Kids?
Not.
That he's in.
Not that you're aware of.
I think I've come to the overall understanding.
Oh, What a pun on words that was.
that I possibly have like 4 or 5 illegitimates. There's got to be.
Met your son. He was on the podcast.
He's not my kid. His mom, no. I think I saw a picture of him.
That kid does look like.
His kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, dude, I've had
Did you
some.
sleep with the mom?
No, and I was like,
sorry.
all right, bring out the pictures. Let me see your mom. Did she go to Lucille's? Did she hang out in country bars a lot? In the early 1994, 95.
Diamondback.
Who cares? It's called DNA.
The Diamondback Saloon.
Yeah, yeah. I was a Lucille's guy,
I went there one time when I was 21.
dude. It was like Roadhouse, dude. You want to go there and get into a good fight? You're more than welcome.
They had like 30-cent Busch beers.
I still like PBR. I lived in University of North Texas campus, and we go to Boomer Jacks, right? Boomer Jacks had really good wings, and they had 24-ounce PBRs. I haven't had PBR since I was a kid, like Old Milwaukee and PBR and whatever. So go there and just PBR it up and whatever. There's something about good old school beers. I mean, you wake up with a headache and whatever.
Yeah.
But
When I drink, I
Natty
usually will
Light.
just take a shot and then drink water because beer makes me gain so much weight. So I usually
Haha.
don't get to drink it.
hence, look at this physique. That's what happens.
He's not
It's-
ready for a fight.
It's
No,
horrible.
God, no.
My weight fluctuation. So like I was up to 180 about 3.5 weeks ago. I let myself eat whatever I wanted. And I got myself up to about 188. I was like, looked in the mirror, stepped on the scale. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I either need to retire or become a professional fighter again. So then, yeah. So I've
What are
lost
you
about. Right now I'm 166. So I've lost about 24 or 22 pounds in almost 4 weeks.
I lost
Just drinking water, eating
Since-
only whole foods, and and
since May 1st. I lost 50. Since May 1st.
that's awesome.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
No, that's
Keep
good.
It up, man.
Well, like
Keep
8
it
months,
up.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah. I've been stuck on 50 for the last 3 weeks, month.
So how much you weigh?
I weighed started at 270.
So now you're like 230.
No, I was at 320.
Oh, so
now I'm
you're
270. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I got another 20 to where I don't know. I'm big chested, big legs, so I don't know.
You gotta think
BMI is.
265 is the heavyweight limit in MMA. So if
Here
you,
it is.
if you can get
There
down
it
to
is.
that,
I'm in.
Yeah.
if you can get
I'm
down
in.
to 265, then you're cutting weight to
Watch
fight
out.
for the heavyweight.
Yeah, you and Brock, buddy.
We've got a guy who's
Douche.
Josh Presian's one of the highest ranked.
Do you know?
him?
No. Do you know Donnie Pugini? Do you remember him?
Pugini?
He was a heavyweight boxer.
No, it doesn't ring a bell. Pugini doesn't ring a
Oh,
bell.
okay. Pugini.
Pugini.
Alrighty. Well,
All right. Well, it's time to go, answer that age-old question, who let the dogs out? Who probably be me.
all right.
So go let the dogs out. Thank you very much for coming
Thanks for
in.
having me. It was a
I
pleasure.
will-
I'll be
Awesome.
around anytime.
I had fun. Had a good time, man.
Yeah, if you want to, swing in. Generally, it's Matt or myself. He's going on a couple day hiatus because
Football
of
and-
love.
Yeah.
And
You
I
know.
thought you were about to say his birthday.
Yeah.
No, it
his
was my
birthday
birthday.
month.
I did- oh.
Jesus criminy
Yeah,
with the
hey.
birthday
oh my
month.
God. He has to take days off of work for his birthday. That's
Yeah, but if
messed up.
it plays into your schedule as it comes up, right?
yeah, we can
This is
figure
a
it out.
great why over 2,000 2,000 and some people that hey we're going, I'm going, I put together a bunch of people who are going to go. Anyone watching, I seem to associate myself with people that are boxing fans, right? I have a weird it's underground. Right, it's a lot like anonymous or
We can do
whatever.
one
Well, people with
Mondays-
people with a
Mondays
fight
like
IQ get along. You know what I mean? If it's the people that try to tell the fight person with the fight IQ how it's gonna go. Those are the people that don't get
Right.
along.
And
We
we
all
can do like
we
a
all
Monday.
understand fighting and
like a Monday sports roundup or something.
Yeah,
or,
for
just
sure.
a touch
Whenever,
on sports.
and it'll be good because I'm gonna, obviously I just normally put random stuff back here, which freaks them out. When I'm doing something, I'll just put on like clown rap, like Dirt Nasty and Andy Milanakis, and just weird stuff playing in the background. I would have liked to, if we would have pre-thought that, I would have had it all logged up, and I could have, had it here.
next time I come out, we'll put some of my fights on there, and maybe we can dissect some of them.
Yeah,
if
for
you
sure.
guys want to go over them or something like
No,
that.
that'll be
There's
perfect.
a few good fights that I think you guys should see. That'll give you a better idea of like what I'm all about.
And even from my personal knowledge and Matt's, and my people who who watch boxing and whatever, I've got a couple boxers in Texas. One boxing coach that I used to work with at Ford Motor Company, he knew my brother, right? Grew up in Garland, and kind of weird. And there was a fraternity fight that was going on. Now my business partner's super young, right? I think he's only like 21 or 22 at the time, and he was like, "Oh, dude, horrible, not coordinated, not anything." And I was like, "Dude, if you want, I will at least show you footwork and how to not throw your punch with a with a hitch, and as much little stuff, or what you're gonna see.
Right.
I'll do this. Just come." He never did. Right. He was training, and we were lifting really hard at the time and training. So he was big and strong. Well, he gets into a fight with, it was a charity boxing match with a fraternity in University of North Texas. Had an actual, ring, had, refs, had everything there, obviously, except it wasn't a, sanctioned fight by anything. They had to have done something because everyone wore headgear and did whatever, but it was kind of cool, right? And I was like, cool.
I mean, it could have been USA sanctioned, USA boxing sanctioned. I mean, there was one at Michigan, and they did the same thing with a fraternity.
Okay,
the fraternity and the USA boxing actually sanctioned it, and the University of Michigan boxing team was like helping each fraternity prepare
and whatever.
Yeah.
Okay,
and so it was
what?
just
I'll
like
dig.
what you're talking about.
It still goes on. Like I watched it. I saw it pop up on on North Texas News and whatever. So I was like, cool. It's still it's a continuing thing. They do a lot of it for charity and whatever with that stuff. But he gets in there. I show up. He was like, dude, you got to come see this. And I was like, dude, are you kidding me? I want to see this. You're gonna get your head beat in. Of course I'm gonna come see this. So I hurry up. I drive all the way up there, get out of work. I drive there, this, and this. So I get there, and, the fight's getting ready to go on, and blah, 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 blah. And, my buddy's nervous as all get out, right? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, dude, you're way too tight. I'm like, come on. Dude, it's like anything. All you can hope to do is go do whatever backyard boxing you've ever done. But you need to be loose, right? Keep your hands up. Keep your elbows in. This guy, they're saying this guy actually knows how to fight. He was like, yeah, I think his trainer and whatever. And he was like, dude, this guy's got a trainer? This is bullshit. And in walks my buddy, Big Joe. And Big Joe walks over, and I went, dude, haven't seen you in a while. We get to talking, and I looked at my buddy, and I was like, yeah, you definitely should have came over and gotten some pointers. Like, Joe, I was like, yeah.
So what happened?
He, ironically, my buddy's got a head like a brick. It's, you know what? I'll show it to you next time, or maybe I'll show it to you off. As soon as we click off here, I'll show it to you. I think I still have it. Or it's on my buddy's Facebook. It was funny. It was funny at best. Now this dude, my buddy got a couple good punches, but of course they were,
haymakers.
Yes, and he did hit him, and it was very unorthodox. But the other dude obviously took him to task, right? Bing, 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 bing. Neither one of them were really seasoned, but. Obviously, the other fighter had,
So it went to the decision.
Yeah, it did. Didn't knock him out. You can't knock him out. I fought him with no gloves. I've been angry. I fractured his jaw at a bar because I was telling a story like, hey, look over here and blah, blah, blah. And he reaches in and bites my arm. Bites my arm in the middle of a conversation. Like, I'm like, who are,
You don't even know him.
Oh no, this is my buddy. This is my business partner guy, right? So he reaches in, bites my arm enough to where he pulls his head back, and I see the outline of top and bottom jaw, which immediately all I could do was, pow. Put his head down, wobbled, put his head on the bar, and slept, right? Granted, we drank a little bit. He sleeps, wakes up in the morning, and my hand's sore, and I'm, oh, wow. Well, he was drunk. He's not going to remember that. He wakes up, goes to eat a bowl of cereal in the morning. His jaw is cracking every time and he's like, oh, dude. He was like, and I hit him square on the chin. Well, he, went to Care Now or whatever, which is a huge, like clinic or whatever in Texas. And they went like, oh, you have a hairline fracture. And yeah, you've got a click in your jaw, and maybe it'll go away. Maybe it won't. And he was like, dude, I have a hairline fracture in my jaw, and my jaw's clicking. You hit me hard. And I was like, no, you bit me. And I took my hand right from here where I saw, and I went, that was it. I didn't hit you that hard. Of course, everybody at the bar said it sounded a lot like somebody dropped a plate and whatever. So maybe I hit him harder than I thought. Came to town and drank way too much. Told him to leave my old dog alone because she's got bad hips and whatever. Drank way, way too much. He likes the alcohols. I had to attack him, smack his head into the couch, choke him out, do anything under the sun. woke up in the morning, doesn't remember a thing. So yeah, this guy can take a wallop. So the fact that he made it through that fight, and he did, obviously headgear and whatever, but I'll show you the fight. It's it's funny, it's comical. But I'll give him credit for doing it, and he had
Always give anyone credit for putting themselves out.
there's a million people that wouldn't step into a ring. So yeah, he did, and it was good. But yeah, it was pretty neat.
That's awesome.
So-
That's cool. I never even heard that story.
Yeah, well, dude, I've got like 14 of them where I beat Travis, which is pretty fun. I wish I would have videotaped him.
That Travis?
Crazy.
That was here?
I don't think you've been here with Travis. My
That's
business
another
partner.
Travis.
No, doesn't Travis have like a faux hawk?
Yeah, he's got a faux hawk and a crazy beard.
Oh,
You're talking about Kai, or who were you in here with?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, Travis the black guy.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Why is he gotta be black?
Jake Podcast, JakePodcast.com. Thanks everybody for coming out. We'll
you.
put some
Whoop.
things together, together for this, and yeah, definitely shoot me over those links when you do, and
For sure.
that way I can do my mind's eye and check everything out, and we'll get this in, and hopefully a couple more
Okay, Apollo Creed.
segments prior to the. I watched Creed the other day.